Welcome back to the Exotic Pet Collective. I appreciate you coming and listening to this conversation today. If this is your first time, my name is Richard. You may know me from the Tarantula Collective, but this is my podcast, also a second YouTube channel. So if you don't follow me on YouTube on this second channel, the Exotic Pet Collective, make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or pretty much anywhere you download podcasts, make sure you follow and leave a 5-star review. That definitely helps out. Today's topic, I'm interviewing a gentleman from Eresus Spider Shop. He is the new owner, and we're going to talk a minute. I'm just going to kind of set the stage for those that may not be aware of the situation and what happened last month. There was a lot of animosity out there, a lot of frustration. So I wanted to get him on and just kind of discuss what happened, what's going on right now, and how he's planning to move forward, and just kind of get both sides of the story out there. I'm going to share my experience. He's going to share his experience, and hopefully these two sides will kind of make the picture a little bit clearer. And because there's a lot of, something bad happens, people are very quick to start screaming scam, especially if they have a business that competes with a business where something bad happened. So I just wanted to talk and kind of get that information out there, and also to learn, because I only knew my side, what I experienced, and I wanted to, kind of compare notes with somebody else that was involved in the situation. So before we get into that, I will set the stage, but I did want to take a quick second and thank the sponsor of today's video,
Arthropod Ambassadors.
Now, if you're not familiar with them, they take a unique look at our tiny neighbors that wear their bones on their skin. They aim to spark interest in bugs and support the well-being of arthropods in our backyard and around the world. They're spreading this educational inspiration through arthropod art, the mobile bug zoo, informational YouTube videos, and invertebrate hobby networking. They also work with edible insects, specimen preservation, pest management, and beekeeping. From compost-enhancing roly-polies and alien-like top predator mantises to the honeybee alchemist we partnered with long ago, arthropods come in all shapes and sizes and are waiting to teach us more about the earth that we all have in common. If you're interested in becoming more familiar with mantises, jumping spiders, assassin bugs, roaches, or a variety of other critters, head over to arthropodambassadors.com and check out their content on which species they have available. You can also find a collection of videos covering nature walks, pet mantises, resin art, and other invertebrates on their YouTube channel, also called Arthropod Ambassadors. And you can follow them on Instagram to stay updated on new educational content or species that they may have available in the future. So a huge thanks to Arthropod Ambassadors for sponsoring this podcast, and I will leave a link down below in the show notes so you can check out their website and all their other social media.
Okay, and if you're listening to this right now, I'm probably in Orlando at Animal Con, so I'm not going to promote that. But I mean, if you're in the Orlando area and you want to come by and check it out, it's at the Caribe Royale Resort. And tickets and all the information you can find at animalconusa.com. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'd love to see you if you're in the area, but it's probably too late to hop on a plane and come all the way out. And I did want to also give a brief shout out to, some people want to support the channel, but they don't want to become a Patreon member, but they would like to, use an affiliate link or something like that. Right now, I do have 2 affiliate links that are currently active that would really help out if you decided to use them. If you need these products, use my link. It will really help out. The first is for tarantulacribs.com. Use the code TCollective10 at checkout. It'll save you 10% off your entire order. And if you are in the need of some substrate, bioactive supplies, cork bark, anything like that, head over to thebiodude.com and use the code Tarantula10. That'll also get you 10% off and will really help out because, they give me a little commission on those, and it helps, support the podcast, support the YouTube channel, all that stuff. So, you save money and you get to help out the Tarantula Collective, which is very much appreciated. But so anyways, we're going to get into this story real quick. Essentially what happened is back in October, November, something like that, in the fall, early winter, I received a message from the owner of Eresus Spider Shop. They're based out of California. He had just taken over the business, just bought it from somebody, I believe, and was wanting to start working, getting some promotions out there, working with YouTubers and doing advertising and things like that. I wasn't really sure who they were. I hadn't really heard of the business before. I talked to a few people in the area. They all had, pretty positive things to say. So I was like, okay, send me a box. We'll do an unboxing video. We'll see how it goes. Everything he sent, some great species. They were all healthy. They're all still alive today. It was packed up really well. I had no complaints and was very appreciative that he sent me those spiders. And I told him, I'm cool with working for you. I'm, working with you moving forward if that's something you're interested in. But then it was like the holidays and Christmas and New Year's and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't hear from him again until February, I believe. I got him email. He was wanting to do a big sale. I guess he was moving to a new location, a larger location or something like that. And just wanted to liquidate some of the spiderlings, some of the stock that he had. And it was a tiered sale. So it was, you spend a certain amount, you got like 50% off. And there was different tiers up to, I think it was like maybe like $1,200 or something like that. You spent $1,200, you would get 70% off. So, I mean, that was a pretty big, you get like $1,200 with the spiders for less than $500. I don't exactly remember the math, but it was a good deal. And, I ran it, Facebook post, Instagram post, and then an integrated ad in a video, and got a whole lot of positive feedback. People were very excited about the deal. Saved a lot of money. They got a really cool species. Just overall, it was positive feedback from a lot of people online. I did get some pushback from people because, maybe they had 100 different species on the website available for sale. The discount code, most of them are spiderlings. And if you compared the price of those spiderlings to pretty much any other dealer on the internet, they were the same price for the same size spiderling. Sometimes it may have been like $5-10 more. A lot of cases it was less than what other people were selling it for. But maybe they were a little bit smaller or something. I don't really know. But they did have maybe a dozen adult females or rare species or breeding pairs. They were like the high dollar items. And essentially what they did, I guess, is they didn't want the discount code to apply to them. It's, they didn't want 70% off this price of this adult female Pamphivetus solaris or something. I don't know. I just pulled that name out of my hat. So instead of working with the website and trying to figure out a way for the discount code to apply to some species but on others, which can be very complicated, I know just from dealing with my own website, or just taking them off, which is probably what I would have done. I would have removed them from the website, just like they're not on sale, they're not available during the sales. But that's not what they did. It's their business. They make their own decisions, and the way they decided to handle that, I guess, was just raise the price maybe 2 or 3 times what it was normally they would have charged, to kind of counteract the 50 to 70% discount that was people would be using. And so there was some people online that kind of they just honed in on that, and they were like, well, this species is 3 times what anybody else is charging for an adult of that size. And so it just, to them, most of them, I'll be honest, just from knowing them and who they are, they had their own business selling tarantulas, and they were upset about the whole 70% off spiderling thing, which I understand. If I was selling spiderlings and somebody was essentially selling them for what I bought them for at wholesale, I would also be upset. But that was the only drama, the only pushback I got. Maybe 3 months later, reached out to me again, wanted to run a similar sale, and I said, sure. The last one went well. I'm totally down for it. Ran the ads, had it in the video, and then maybe a week later, I started getting some negative feedback. Some people were sending me emails or leaving comments or messages, making posts on my Facebook group, essentially wanting to know what's up. Like their order was supposed to ship and it didn't ship, and when they tried to contact the company, they didn't hear anything back, or it would take a while, like days, for them to get back, and they would just say, hey, we're backed up. We're going to send them, next week or something like that. So it was like a 2-tier problem. One is they weren't sending them out when they were supposed to send them out, and the second was they just was a very, very poor communication, and I wasn't exactly sure what was happening. I had reached out to try to get some information. They would tell me some stuff. I would pass that along to people in the comments or that had emailed me, assuring them that everything was fine. They were just really backed up. I think part of it was they just didn't expect the amount of orders that came in. As one of those, they advertised, they wanted the sale to happen. They just didn't realize how many people they would be reaching with that ad, and how many people would be spending money. So I think it was just a perfect storm of crap. It was like they got a lot more orders than they anticipated. They lost some employees that were helping them out, and they also we'll talk about it in the podcast, because I'm not going to put words in the other guy's mouth, but so I just wasn't sure. I knew what I was being told by the owner. I also knew that he just merged with another company, and that guy was pretty much taking over the business. And so I wanted to talk to the new owner and find out what he knew, what his experience was here, and essentially how what's happening, what's going on. And, so I invited him on. He was more than willing to come on. I was very excited because I didn't know him at all. and I had heard of his business a few times, and was, so I was just curious. I wasn't sure if he would actually come on and talk to me or not, just because of all the drama that was going on online. People were really upset, and he pretty much got stuck holding the ball in this situation. So, I don't like when people are upset. I did my research. I talked to a lot of people. I asked a lot of questions of the owner. I did everything that I could possibly do to make sure this was legit, and all indications were it was a legit business, and they are. Like, I'm still at this point, they're not scamming anybody. They just screwed up, which, sometimes happen. You get in over your head. But I just wanted to not only find out what happened, but do it in a public discourse where, I'm telling my side, what I experienced, what I heard, what I was told. And this guy can tell his side. We can kind of put it together, hopefully create a much clearer picture that, and just get the word out, get the truth out there. So it's not just all speculation and mudslinging and things like that. So I invited Jonathan on the podcast. He was more than happy to come on and talk. And we talked for a few hours, and hopefully this will kind of help clear the air, put some things into context, and explain what happened, what's going on right now, and how he's going to be moving forward in the future. And so I'm going to stop rambling, and we're just going to jump right into the podcast. Welcome, Jonathan. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate just having the ability and the chance to speak with you and just kind of figure out, what all's going on. I'm sure I got a lot of questions. A lot of people out there have a lot of questions, and I just think this is like a great opportunity for you to kind of explain what's happening, because posted on social media, especially like on Facebook or stuff like that, you're pretty limited, because people don't like to read, so they'll get like 2 paragraphs in and then just assume the rest. So if before we get started, if you could just tell everybody who you are and how you got into the hobby and what your business is and stuff like that, and then we'll dive into the topic at hand.
Sure. So, like the screen says, my name's Jonathan Silva. I own Seven Wonders Exotic Pets, Seven Wonders Tarantulas. And how did I get into the hobby? I saw a very, very, very pretty spider when I was 13 years old, and I was obsessed. I was fascinated, and one thing led to the other, and here I am swimming in spiders. I mean, it's been about 20 years, and I've been started my first breeding project when I was 14. I don't recommend that. And like I said, one thing just leads to another, and I think that's kind of all of us in this hobby, right? You just get one, and 3 weeks later you're at 63 and you still have a big bucket list.
Yeah. So where are you located?
So I'm located in Fresno, California. That's where the storefront is. So in the middle of California. Most people, because I do a lot of traveling for work outside of tarantulas, most people, they know you like San Francisco, Sacramento, they know LA and San Diego. Never heard of Fresno. So I'm in the middle.
I feel like I heard of Fresno from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I think they mentioned or maybe that was Barstow. I don't even remember.
Well, see, Barstow's not too far from Vegas, and either that or it could have been Fresno, Texas.
Yeah,
so
I guess so.
You never know. Never know. Very
cool. So just to kind of like give anybody that's unaware of the situation, I'm just going to tell you from my perspective what happened. I was reached someone from Eresus Spider Shop, which I mispronounced many times. I kept calling Eresus and Eresus, but
I'm going to say Eresus on
Eresus?
This podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I looked up on YouTube once how to do it, and it sounded like Eresus. So it sounds like a Reese's cup, like that. But so say it one more time.
Eresus. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'll be saying.
Gotcha. I mean, it doesn't matter how you pronounce it. Somebody out there is going to be like, no, that's the incorrect way. That's what I've learned.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But they reached out to me and wanted to do, I think first it was an unboxing video. And I never really heard of them before. And usually I try to do some due diligence when a tarantula dealer reaches out to me, because I don't, I've had some issues in the past. Somebody that I thought was good, and they were, a lot of it, sometimes they were good for a few years, and then things go bad. My first experience with tarantulas was with Pet Supplies Plus. No, wait, that's not true. Pet Center USA. That's what it was called. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Yeah. Yeah. And that, I didn't have I was just a customer and had put in a big order right when everything kind of fell apart there. And I still don't 100% know what's going on there, but that's ancient history, so we don't got to dig that up or anything. But
a lot of times I've heard that name. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like up until that point, I didn't have any complaints, and that's happened with a few other dealers. Things will be going well, and then sometimes people just want to get out of the business or get in over their heads, or stuff like that. But in this particular instance, I had asked around to a lot of people and read the reviews online and stuff like that, and pretty much only got good feedback. Everybody was very complimentary of them. And I even had some people, like customers, that had reached out to me asking me to put them on my website as a recommended dealer. And I think that was the first time I had ever heard of them. And but then, they reached out to me and they wanted to send a box, and they sent, it was like over $1,000 worth of tarantulas and velvet spiders and stuff like that. I was very generous and did an unboxing video, and it went well. And then they offered, I think, to pay for 2 ads to promote a sale that they were doing, which was like anywhere between like 50 to 70% off, depending on how much you had spent. Ran the first ad in a video. I got a lot of great feedback. People were really excited and really appreciative, and it seemed like a very positive thing. So a couple months later, he reached out to me again and wanted to do another ad, and I was like, sure. It went really well last time. Let's do it. And it was like a week after that, I just started getting bombarded with messages from people upset that their first tarantula hadn't shipped yet, or they had placed an order, was supposed to ship, and it's like been a week, and they were having a hard time getting a hold of anybody. And of course, anytime anything like that happens, like the dog piles start on Facebook in particular, where everybody's like, well, this is a scam, we're getting ripped off, and people get panicked. And it caused me a lot of stress because part of me is like, it was very obvious that was a paid promotion. It even said paid promotion on it. Like, I was paid to do this ad. If you order a Pepsi and it doesn't taste good, you don't call up friends or something like that and bitch because they ran an ad for Pepsi. But I also understand YouTube's a little bit different than TV, and people kind of feel like there's a personal connection there. So they felt like in running that ad, was, recommending them, not just promoting them, but saying this is good. And therefore I bear some of the responsibility for their stress, or if they get ripped off or something like that. So there was some.
Jeez, I wish I knew I could come blame you too. That would have made things just a little easier for me.
Yeah. I'm not going to call anybody on name, but there was at least 20 messages just on Instagram, and some from people that I know are reasonable individuals that have been in the hobby for a while. They know sometimes it takes a while for orders to get shipped. Sometimes you get people that are like, I paid for overnight delivery, it wasn't here the next day. And it's like, well, you're just unreasonable and don't understand how this works. So
I've dealt with a lot of that in the last 6-7 weeks. So yeah.
So yeah, those I don't really engage with, but some of the people I were like, they wouldn't be sending me a message about this unless they were truly concerned. So I had reached out to the previous owner and tried to figure out what was going on. They kept assuring me things were just running behind, and they were like moving locations, and they got some new employees, and there was just all this different stuff. And I started explaining to it, and then I was like, wait, I don't work for Eresus. Like, I'm not I ran an ad for him. You paid me for that ad. I don't think I can do you service by trying to do your customer service for you. You know what I mean? So I would pass on that information to some people, but then I was just kind of like, I don't know how I'm getting stuck in the middle of this. So I kind of backed away from it, and we're just trying to figure out. I figured once the dust settled, the truth would kind of, like, people would understand what's going on. And that's why I was excited when I reached out to you and you were willing to come on the podcast, because I was like, well, if anybody knows what's happening, what happened, what's going to be going on moving forward, it would be you. So thank you again for being willing to come on the podcast and talk about this. So if we could just kind of like start from the beginning, and I don't even know if this is the beginning, but like, I'm just curious.
We can start from my beginning, right?
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. How did you get involved in this? Like, where did this begin?
Yeah, where did it begin? Oh my God. Actually, Eresus had reached out to me on multiple occasions over the course of, I don't remember the specific time frame, but let's call it a year. And I never really moved forward with committing to any kind of agreement, partnership, anything in between, and just wasn't what I was interested in at the time. And so that sort of changed as I opened my store. So when I opened my store and I realized, one of the best ways to an epiphany here, right? One of the best ways to draw people in is getting on social media and having a presence, which I do not have.
Just for a point of clarification, real quick. When you say open a store, you mean like a physical brick and mortar store?
Yes.
Okay, not just like an online store.
Opened. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
No. So we just opened a physical brick and mortar store, and I've just poured so much time, energy, money into that store. It's physically where I'm at right now. I'm in the back of my store. And so then when and I'll have to be honest, I kind of live under a rock when it comes to social media as it pertains to tarantulas. I've been in the hobby, engrossed in the hobby for 20 years. I'm familiar with every person out there,
Mhm.
whether directly or indirectly, but I don't know what's happening. I had no idea Eresus was doing a sale, and no offense to you, I have no idea who you are. I've never heard of you, and so,
I kind of envy you. I wish I didn't wasn't so involved in
well,
the social media aspect.
and I envy you because part of me is like, oh, But anyway, long story short, like I really was under a rock. So when Eresus approached me for the fifth time, let's say, I
Why
was a little more interested.
why do you think they were approaching you? Was it because
We
you
had
were in
done
close?
business in the past,
Okay.
and I'm pretty direct, and I'm exceptionally transparent when it comes to running a business, and so um and I have education in business, and I think that that's probably it. I don't want to sit here and guess why in terms of I'm competent and they came to me. I just think that they saw abilities that maybe they're not seeing in other people, and I certainly could have done it if the cards were not completely stacked against me. So I think that's probably why.
So you're not
Um,
like old friends from college or anything. You were just were you all located near each other physically? Like we're in the same area
yeah,
or town?
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, we're only 3 hours apart,
Okay.
and I had been doing business with several people that were affiliated with Eris's over the course of several years,
Yeah.
and so I think that's part of it too. You know, talking about breeding, for example, very specific genus that a lot of people here don't really know how to breed, right? That it took 15 years of trial and error to figure out, and I think that's part of it. I think just my knowledge. And I don't, I'm a nobody. Like I don't get on social media. I don't make posts. I don't take pictures of my breeding project and collect my virtual accolades. Like I don't do all of that.
Yeah.
And
I don't
maybe I
think that
should.
makes
I don't
you
know.
I don't think that makes you a nobody. It just means you don't have a social media presence, which
Sure.
isn't necessarily a bad, well, maybe it's a bad thing for a business, but
I
on
think
a
so.
personal
I think
level,
I'm
I think
realizing
that's,
that.
yeah, but it's very
Yeah.
healthy for your mind, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because now here we are, and I'm sitting here like, oh my god, what's next for me? Because like I gotta get, I don't know, and I'll tell you the story of how I even came back into the business in a second. So just back to Eresis though,
Okay.
I finally said I'm interested. Let's look at numbers. Let's see what's going on, and I was flabbergasted. I've been around long enough that the biggest names and the biggest companies in it, as far as I'm aware anyway, in our community. I've seen them come, I've seen them go, and I was just I was dumbfounded at the sheer number of sales, the sheer numbers of the actual spiders, the tangible physical tarantulas that were sold. Like I was blown away. And so numbers, I keep like I'm backwards on my camera.
Yeah, it's
No, I'm gonna
reversed.
go this way. Here we go. So like that, I'm a sign language interpreter, so I'm like very physical. So the numbers were really good. The number of sales were really good. And here's where I kind of messed up, like kind of big time, which is I don't do social media, so I had no idea what was being said out there. And at the time, in I guess my defense, it wasn't that bad. It was, oh, our orders are not being sent. Where's our spiders? And okay,
So is there
that's
like
manageable.
a date, like a time frame? I mean, it'd be like a specific
The
date, but like
very tail end of June is
June.
when
Okay.
I was handed the stack of orders, which was only a fraction of all the orders, but it was a physical stack of orders, which is these ones need to be addressed first because they're the most outstanding. That was at
Okay.
the end of June.
So that's when you
Um,
kind of came into the picture.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
I'm referencing some information on my phone because I was kind of curious. I got so many dates in my head. It's kind of hard to
yeah, and
because I
I
think
can't tell you the exact date, but it was tail end of June. I really did not roll up my sleeves and start tackling things until the very beginning of July.
Because it was maybe I did more than that. It was like October, I think, when we ran the first October or November.
Oh yeah, I was not even
when we ran the first
remotely in the
ad.
picture. Yeah.
And then he reached back out to me March. Looks like March. Because nothing happened. Yeah, that was February. Yep. So yeah, it was like March or April or something like that when he contacted me for the second ad.
I don't even recall ever hearing that there was a massive sale initially, like back in October or anything. He had reached out to me maybe, I don't know, April,
It
May.
wasn't.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't a massive sale. When he reached out to me like in the fall, early winter, that was my first interaction with him when he was sending me a box for unboxing. And then it was like February, March we ran one, and then beginning of June is when he did the second ad.
Okay, got it. And that kind of adds up to my timeline. And really I started getting wind of it because I had a lot of customers coming back to me saying, "Hey, can you price match?
Yeah.
Can you do this? Can you do that?" And so I wasn't completely unaware, but maybe I was willfully oblivious, but certainly there were prices that I could not match. And they were certainly doing things that I could not do. And so that was also part of what influenced me to go, this might be a good decision. And I hesitate to say that it was, and I also hesitate to say that it was the worst decision, because in the end, there's something I'm going to be able to salvage out of this, because I don't know if I'm always a glass half full kind of person, but in this situation, I'm going to be like glass is a quarter full, and I'm going to take what I can get.
Sure.
So early July is when I really started tackling things, and I will say, if it were simply a back order, if it were simply that, we would have gotten it taken care of. It would not have been an issue. But, and this is where I don't have complete information, the spiders that I received, that I physically went to go pick up and load my big SUV completely full with, and come all the way back to my shop and get them rehoused and get them cared for, because obviously there were things happening in their transition. Eresus wasn't a single individual. It was a group of people. And I'm limited in terms of what I can say, but they were working with another business. And that's part of what makes this whole situation exceptionally frustrating for me, is because I don't have the information, and it's like this. Well, so-and-so did this and so did that.
Yeah. That's kind of how I was feeling as well. I had one point of contact. I had I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get you in trouble. But I had the one individual that I did all of my communicating with, and in our conversations, I had been told, I had been made aware there were employees, there were other business associates or partners of some, and not all. Like they were. At one point, he mentioned something about getting a new facility and moving from one facility to another facility. Something about opening up a breeding facility in Mexico. The more I talked to this guy, the more research I kind of did on them, the more impressed I honestly was. I was like, wow, this is a big, this guy's got a lot of connections. There's a lot of people involved. And I was like, the way I kind of viewed it was like, this is going to be the next biggest tarantula dealer in the U.S. And I was excited
it would have been,
to work with
it would have been, and it would have continued if it wasn't just for a couple of little things. I will tell you, and those little things were enough to undo an enterprise.
I don't mean to keep interrupting you. I just wanted to throw in like my timeline as well, because I'm trying to figure this all out in my head.
We're going to have to work together, because I don't have all the pieces either.
All right.
So there were a lot of sticks in their fire. There were, and that's part of what makes things difficult, because when I got those spiders and I brought them back to my shop, it was a good number of spiders. I personally in my shop had over 25,000 spiders, and I brought from them, I don't know, 5,000 or 6,000 spiders. I don't know the raw number, but it was a lot of spiders.
Yeah.
But quickly, now again, I don't have all the background information. Is it because things died because there was a transition between whoever was caring for them, like I'm watching my hands. Okay, I want to go this way. Whoever was caring for them, and then they left, and therefore things died in between, right? No matter what, like I've been doing this for 20 years, and there are people like to get judgmental. This happens in every business. It
Yeah.
happens in every single business that are dealing with live animals. One of the things that I said when I was getting back into it was, if we ever get to the point where stuff isn't being taken care of and it dies, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've seen the biggest and I've seen the best. I've been in their facilities and stuff dies. And so you have to be exceptionally cognizant and so on top of your stuff that when you have that sheer number of spiders, like, stuff dies. And I don't know. I'm just leaving this as a plausible assumption. That's what happened. There was a transition between their partnerships. And again, I'm using that word loosely because I really don't know the dynamics of their relationship. But whoever was responsible for caring and maintaining those animals, they left. And I don't know how much time passed in between them leaving and me showing up. It could have been a month for all I know. I don't really know.
That sounds
So
very reminiscent to what happened when I was talking about Pet Center USA. Like when I had been talking to him, and he actually called me because I was kind of upset because it was, it wasn't like the biggest order in the world, but for me that was, I'd probably dropped like $1,000 on an order or something. So it was a lot of money to me.
big order.
And and he had pretty much, he had called me. He was like, I'm just going to call you, and told me that he had went on vacation, had hired someone to take care of the spiders while he was gone for like 2 weeks or something out of the country. Came back to realize that person pretty much had just taken the money and ran. Like wasn't taking care of the spiders.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things had died off, and some of the stuff I had ordered he no longer had, but he was getting in a shipment, and it was a whole mess. So as you're telling me this, that it just kind of brings up that situation. Like,
right.
This is definitely something that's happened
I know
before.
Paul fairly well, and that could have very well been the case. And that's the unfortunate reality is when you're dealing with these sensitive animals, it takes one little thing that can cause a tremendous spiral effect. And I really don't know what happened with Paul. I worked a lot with Paul before I left the hobby when my mom passed away. And then when I came back, Paul was a thing of the past. So they come and they go. I'm back in the days where there was Botar and other companies that nobody's ever heard of today. But there's Kelly Swift is still around, and this may or may not have happened. Let's lean with may not have happened in 2003 or 2004. I may or may not have sent Kelly Swift an email telling him that I wanted to buy a Lasiodora parabana this big, and I wanted it as a confirmed female. That may have happened. I'm not sure. So, I mean, people come and go. I came and went.
You can tell how long that guy's been around just by looking at his website. Like, it's an old HTML kind of. Sometimes I'll go there, I'm like, wow.
I have not seen his website in years, but I have fond memories of it.
Yeah, it probably looks
memories.
exactly the same it did last time.
Does
you
it
saw
really?
Yeah.
It's all black with
okay. Yeah, it looks like old
Very
GeoCities kind of setup. Like it very classic.
Every right in the world to just continue doing what he's doing.
It's working for him.
It's working. I have nothing but respect for him. So I come from 20 years ago where, I don't know most of these people today. And that's not exactly true. Like a lot of the newer vendors, within the last 5 years, I'm familiar with them. I see them at the expos. Sometimes they come down to the super shows in Southern California. I've met them. I've chat with them. A lot of the people that are doing business now, they're good people. At least I think they're good people. I don't have, I mean, they bring good vibes. So not sure what happened with Paul. But like Paul, maybe that's what happened. Maybe there was a transition and stuff died in the transition. But at the very bottom line is, I didn't have the spiders for people's orders.
Okay.
And I had a decision to make, right? It was a pretty big decision because I didn't get those spiders from Eresus, but I did have them, like my own stock. I had a lot of them, not all of them. One of the biggest appeals for me even being interested in moving forward with Eresus was they're working with spiders that I would not work with, right? Because it's niche, and it's getting to the point where they're bringing in spiders Haplopelma species pecan and all of these specific locales and whatnot. I don't tend to deal with stuff like that. One, because um what's the PC way of putting this? I know there's a lot of big names out in Europe and I'm familiar with quite a few of them. I don't particularly care or believe what they say about 90% of what they say. I don't.
Are you
I'm
referring
very
to like
skeptical.
where they're sourcing the spiders from, or
Right.
okay,
Xanesthus species megaceta and Xanesthus this and Xanesthus that. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Um, let's take a look, right? Like there's a more definite way of determining species. There's a more definite, you don't just, Formictopus species blue because I found it 3 feet on the other side of that barn. And over here's the rose blue, and over there's the purple, and over there, no,
yeah,
I'm just a little bit like, and I have to be careful, right? Because I get customers that say, well, I want it. So the marketing works. It works very well. So I say all that to say I don't typically work with stuff that isn't clearly defined, which isn't completely fair because I work with Pamphibedius all the time, and everybody knows that genus
it's
has been and probably will continue to be a mess for the next 20 years.
yeah,
But there are some that are very clearly defined. And so I just don't work with stuff like that. And I was getting customers asking for it. Hey, we want the Vietnam silver. The Vietnam silver, what is that?
yeah.
And then I'd have to go and do a little bit of research and go, oh, okay, it's cool. And it is certainly a spider. Who knows what it is? And so, I had to. So it's an obligation, right? You have customers, you want to ensure that your customers get what they want. And
Sure.
so Eresus seemed like the answer to that problem because they were bringing in spiders. They were doing things that, I mean, there's certainly other people doing it, but not to this scale.
Yeah.
And so I thought this is an easy way into it. And you'll learn maybe towards the end of this podcast that it still was the easy way into it. And I'll get to that once we get through the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah. And just so people
Launch-
know, while I was talking to him initially, like he had sent me pictures of just the facility and you know what I mean? So like I had visual, it's not, you can't pull a Google image off of, the internet of a whole bunch of spiderlings on a shelf or something like that. It arranged, you know what I mean? There's only so many businesses that would have that kind of setup. So it's not something.
Yeah, there's nothing scamish about their network. It's a legitimate network.
Yeah.
I think that the little things, a couple of little things just happened in the worst way that I just had to make that post and say, we're done. Like,
Yeah.
Because, and I guess I'll get to that. But
I
long
think
story
some
short,
people were, their assumption, at least what they were saying to me, is that this was like a fly-by-night business that popped up out of nowhere. Was
No.
one guy ripped a bunch of people off and disappeared. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Like
no.
Yeah.
And I think that's the easy thing to say, right?
Yeah.
I think I keep going back to, what do I say? I think there's a lot of people that have a conflict of interest. I think that there are people who have been very vocal, particularly because it benefits them if a company goes under. And I think that that's really been the biggest push for just the complaints and the whatever it is. It's not your general, and I don't mean this in any offensive way, but it's not your general customer that buys some spiders and has a little collection. These are people with a little more skin in the game. These
Yeah.
are people who maybe have little stores, maybe they do a lot of flipping, whatever. I don't know, I don't care, I'm not casting any judgment. But simultaneously, these are the people who have really fanned the flames. And have made my life exceptionally miserable for 2 months. And
I don't think you're really talking out of school. I mean, anybody that goes on some of these Facebook groups can see that. Like, it's very obvious. Well, this person's stirring, really kind of antagonizing people and getting them riled up. Has a business as well that sells spiders. And they're almost using that as
and
their
I would
platform.
never do that. I would never do that. Like I think that that's in exceptionally poor taste, and maybe that's just my business background talking. But I would never do that. If I own a business, I have an obligation to say, you know what? There's something happening with that business. There's always things that can go wrong. Nobody's perfect. No enterprise is perfect. That's just the way it is. And I think I have an obligation to just let it play its course, and customers will handle it, right? They have protections. It's not like they bought something and they're completely screwed. There are PayPal protections or whatever it may be. Like, I'm certainly not going to jump to the forefront to, in recent years, there have been a couple of larger names or businesses that have folded. I could have easily jumped in on that bandwagon, given the things that they've said and done. I wouldn't do it. Like, I think there are certain lines that you just don't cross, and I think that's one of them. So I'm with you there.
It's refreshing to hear. I'll say that. But anyways, go on.
Long story short, didn't have a lot of the spiders. And so I thought, well, I'm initiating this agreement where eventually, right, there's going to be compensation in the form of I'm getting access to these networks that I don't have access to. Some of them I already did, but not to that extent. And I thought, it'll pay off. And this was it, right? So I was dealing with, okay, we still have 25,000 spiders to take care of, but now we have 500 back orders. And oh my gosh, it was just, and the crazy thing is, they had back orders from, so I took over the very end of June, beginning of July. There were back orders. There were a few, not many, from April. And then there were a ton from May. And it was like, oh my God, we got to get to these first. But at the same time, there were hundreds of emails, contact forms coming in from people who had ordered 3 days before.
Yeah.
And so they were effectively slowing everything down for everybody back in late April and May, because we constantly have to sift and go through and find things. And it was awful. And I reached back out to Eresus and I said, look, stop the sale. Stop. Like, just stop.
Yeah.
And they said, no, I mean, too much money had been invested, whatever the case was, it was, no, we've got to keep going. And it was like, oh my God. So I mean, in one day, and this isn't bulk order. This isn't like you've just had an egg sack and you're going to take 300 of them and put them in a cup and send it off. This was individually packed spiders. We sent 1,400 spiders in one day.
Oh, wow.
That's insane. I thought, oh my God, and so.
When you say we, how many people are you referring to?
So there was me, there was my main employee. People are very familiar with him. He does, he's like my social media guy. He's on vacation right now, which is not good. He's going to watch this. Anyway, he's on vacation right now. His name is Diego. I brought 3 other people who I had to train overnight to to pack spiders. For better or worse, they did a job, but you know what? Like, I had to get these spiders out. Plus, I brought my brother, my sister, and I used my store manager. There were 8 of us.
Oh, wow.
8 of us trying to stop this fire from, and it was so bad. And so then it was not a matter of all we had to do was ship orders out. If that was what it was, I promise we would have gotten it done if it was just that, but it wasn't. It was phone calls. It was text messages. It was emails saying, we do not have whatever it is that you ordered. And, again, I don't know why we don't have it. And it doesn't make sense. I mean, for me, it kind of would have. I would have just refund.
Yeah.
I would have been very happy to just hit the refund button for everybody, but I didn't have that authority. And from a business standpoint, right, it doesn't make sense, especially if it was the result of stuff dying.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to go and issue refunds to everybody because that's how you go out of business, right?
Okay.
That's Eresus, though. That had nothing to do with me. But I understood it from a business point and said, okay, well, I will do the extra work of offering substitutions or pulling from my own stock, which is what I did. I can't even begin to calculate how much I'm out right now because of stuff that I've sent myself.
Yeah.
I think at one point, we've produced the most Poeclotheria slings in the country. I had thousands of them. I don't have hardly any right now. It's just kind of crazy.
From a business standpoint, why did you decide to do that?
Because thinking about the long term, I have to make sure that this ship stays afloat. I just committed to this. I've signed these papers. I'm still having access to a network that I've never had access to before.
So it's
From a
like if the
business standpoint,
boat goes down, you're going down with it. You're
yeah,
that entangled
exactly.
immediately. Okay.
Yeah. So initially I felt like, oh my gosh, I really have to do all of this work. And let's be real. Let's be completely honest. Like I don't even have a website. I didn't want one. And they have a website. They have a huge platform. I had no idea that they did I mean, I found out like a couple weeks ago, but I didn't know that they had done sale promotions with you and that you're this big time YouTuber. I had no idea. And I'm like, is that how easy it is? I'll be reaching out. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I mean? Like I had no idea. All I know is I saw a highly functional platform that kind of put everybody else to shame. And it was like, okay, this is an opportunity. And my thinking, my thought process the entire time was, I just opened a store. This could supplement my store, right?
Yeah.
If this is successful, it'll supplement my store because opening a store in the modern era with the way that things are right now, it's not easy. It's dangerous, but
Especially in
you know,
California. I mean, you guys seem to have some pretty high taxes and a lot of restrictions, and like I would be very nervous.
right, and so this was like a safety measure for me. Little did I know. No, but I thought this is great. This would be a way to help my business, my store, survive the first year of business because the first year of business is always tough. At least in
Mhm.
my experience, it's always tough. And so I had a lot of incentive to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to pull from my own stock and remember the balance, which is I have all these spiders to take care of, but yet we have to get all these orders out. This is kind of taking two birds with one stone. I'm going to not get rid of, but like I'm going to ship off these spiders. Now we don't have to take care of them. Right. And
Sure.
so, it made sense at the time. And maybe at the end of all this, it still makes sense. I don't know. So that's what I was doing. I was calling people, I was reaching out to people, and I will tell you, I have seen the ugliest side of the hobby now.
I can imagine.
Yeah, some of the customers were just they were so graceful. And I
Yeah.
mean every so often when I would encounter one of those graceful customers, it was enough to sort of just keep me going.
Yeah.
I feel like what's the term when a phrase is really popular? What is it called? Not a trigger word, but it's called it's like
I got
a
like
hot button word. What is that phrase?
first thing I was thinking catchphrase, but I don't. I didn't
It's
know.
not a catchphrase,
Yeah.
but it's like it's the latest and greatest thing to say,
Yeah.
and you say the word, and everybody's been saying it. And right now, the word is scam. Everyone
Yeah.
loves to say the word scam. Oh, it's a scam, and I just sit there and I kind of go, buddy, you have a person who is calling you
Yeah.
to get your order to you. Yeah, you're missing a couple of spiders. And that's unfortunate. You got 12 of the other ones you ordered, you're missing 2. And I always offered substitutions up. Like, they ordered, I don't know, I'm going to make this up, a Rufalata baby. Oh, we don't have any, but hey, I'll shoot you a small female. And I did that in many cases. People made out like bandits because I just kept subbing up and up and up. And and it's a scam. And it was just kind of silly after a little while. But we kept going. The order numbers were decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. They were still making sales, but on one end, I'm like, stop the sales, stop.
Yeah.
And they were still doing them. And so we were sending out spiders faster than sales were being made. Thank God. Um, and I really thought we were getting to the point where the nightmare was coming to a close. Like it was finally getting down to, there are a handful of people, and I try to be this very forgiving person, and I just don't take things personally 90% of the time, but I will not forget their names. Like that's how bad they were as customers. They were just volatile human beings.
Yeah.
And so I have all of their names in my head, unfortunately.
Probably the
I
same
cannot
names I
forget
have in
them.
my head for other
It
reasons, but yeah.
yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be. And when I get my business back up off the ground, because I put my business at a complete standstill to take care
Yeah.
of the Eresus stuff. I will never allow those people to buy from me, because you don't. There comes a point where, yes, as a customer, you are entitled, right? When you buy something, I don't mean that in a negative way. You are entitled to customer service. You are entitled to the product that you paid for, but you never really quite receive the unannounced permission to behave the way that some of these people have. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. It's
And
embarrassing.
I've had some people say some
Um,
very hateful personal stuff, death threats, and it's
yeah,
like,
uh-huh.
whoa, I just
And to
make
the point where
videos,
I had to
man.
shield my sister and everybody else that was trying to help with customer service. I had to say, okay, I'll do it. Right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not gonna go and cry about it, but at the same time, it's like I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's just irrational behavior. I mean, completely irrational. Yeah, you spent 300 bucks and things didn't go as planned. I get it. It's not great. Let's try to make it as good as possible. No, you don't wanna do that. Okay, I'm gonna tell Eresus to refund you, right? That's what I was doing. There were some people that it was just I
I
just, I don't really I'm gonna move on, because, like, that's how ridiculous it
yeah.
was. So I'll just leave that as it is.
I just want to insert, like, I
Yeah.
felt kind of bad in that situation, like, because the second ad that I had ran, and it was just like it's more like I'm making videos, and then businesses reach out to me like, hey, we got a sale or promotion going on, can we run an ad? So I usually just kind of drop it in the video. The
I'm taking
particular
notes.
video that I had done wasn't a video that I thought was really gonna, it seemed like it would be a normal performing video, and for whatever reason, it clicked in the algorithm, and it's like one of my best performing videos this year. So I kind of felt bad that they were
What
already,
was the video? That was the promotion?
yeah. I think it
Oh, okay.
was, yeah, it was. Oh, I have to pull up my YouTube right now and look at it. I think it was the one. It was like top 10 venomous spiders or something like that. It was like around that area. Um, so I like, it had gone. It didn't go viral or anything, but it just performed really well. So I kind of felt like the last sale promotion they got a lot of business from, and kind of felt like it was starting to taper off. So they wanted to run another ad,
Mm.
but it hadn't quite totally cleared all the orders yet. And then this one, when reached 3 or 4 or 5 times as many people, and it just
Mm.
got dumped on. So I kind of felt partly responsible. I mean, it wasn't intentional. I mean, that's the whole purpose of running an ad. You want to get a lot of people in there. But I kind
Yeah,
of felt
and
like
that's
I
the other
should
thing
have
too.
maybe
Yeah.
like maybe waited a little bit longer or something like that. But it's
But
their
no.
business. I can't control that.
Right? It's business, but no. So there is no hindsight there. I don't think you did anything wrong. I didn't know you did it, but it doesn't matter. You did what you were contacted to do. So that's I don't have like I have literally no opinion about that. I think you did a great job. Clearly you did. Um I don't think they didn't have the manpower. Like, I don't know any other way to rationalize what was happening. They did not have the manpower. And that's that, if you don't have the people to be able to get all those orders out, like at some point you have to make a decision. And I know, because when I said to them, like, what are you doing? There's all these orders coming in, all
Yeah.
these back orders, like, what are you doing? And then it was pointed out to me on the website. It says there's a lead time, right? It's 3 or 4 weeks or this or that. And I think that goes back to what you were saying at the very beginning of this uh podcast, which is people don't read. What are you reading? That's for school. And they genuinely don't. I'm not saying they can't read, but they don't.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I saw it there on the website. I saw it there, right there, as plain as day. I saw it. I saw it in the terms and conditions, but guess what? Nobody's reading it, because we're getting blasted by people who are screaming, "Where are our spiders?" who put in an order yesterday or
Yeah.
2 days ago, right? And to say we were 2 weeks behind is being very generous. Very generous. When we got started, it was 8 weeks behind. And after about 2 weeks, we're about 6 weeks behind. And after another 2 weeks, we're about 2 or 3 weeks behind, right? So we made huge strides, but we had never gotten to the point where somebody would put in an order and tomorrow or the following day they would get an order out. I think at best we had gotten to the point where it's maybe 10, 11 business days where before we could put out an order that was put in.
Yeah. But I mean,
Which
that's
on
pretty typical though. Like if I go and I place an order with a business right now, I mean, well, today's a Friday. So, I mean, it wouldn't ship probably until Tuesday or Wednesday the following week.
Well,
Like
I would
there's usually a
argue with you
delay.
that it isn't typical in the tarantula world. It's not, right? We don't have, I mean, I hope all the vendors aren't going to get together, and I call them vendors, businesses. All
Yeah.
the businesses don't get together and create a little rag doll and stick needles in it and put my name on it. But nobody is big time. Nobody is. Nobody's big time. So everybody has just enough orders. They can get them out. Nobody's done what Eresus has done. Eresus was the only one that I know, other than Kenneth McNeil in 20 years, that I mean, it was big time. And so nobody, as far as I know, I could be so wrong and they could be very upset with me at this moment, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody I know is so big and making so many sales that they have a 2 or 3 or 4 week lead time. They're not out there. Most people, probably 95% of people who are selling spiders, they have enough business or don't generate enough business. They're getting their orders out within 2 days. They are. So are we. Seven Wonders Tarantulas. We get our orders out. So the way we do it is we only ship on like Monday, Tuesday, which I'm changing that. I realize that Monday is a horrific day to ship. They always get delayed because everyone else ships on Monday. And I hate FedEx. I'm putting that out there right now. I don't know if your podcast is like pro FedEx, but I'm not. I'm going to be very clear about that. So like right now, we're going to go back to only shipping Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
And so if we get an order the week before, it'll go out that week. If we get an order like that week, like say Monday, it'll probably have to go out the following week, but never 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, if we ever got to the point where we were getting that many orders, I mean, that would be great. But at the same time, I would respond to that by getting more people because I don't want a 2 or 3 or 4 week lead time anyway.
I agree with you there. Yeah, I just meant the sometimes the expectation people have when they place an order. I think it's Amazon. So like I place an order, it should be at my house like within 24 or 48 hours. And sometimes it's like, well, no, you ordered like on a weekend and they only ship Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday or something. So you got to wait it. If you order on Thursday, you're waiting at least until Monday before it even gets in the mail.
That was the worst. That was the absolute worst. When we had people drop their orders on Thursday and say, hi, is it getting here tomorrow or Saturday? Yeah, no.
No. But I think at that point, blood was in the water. So people were placing an order and then going online and then seeing these people screaming scam. And we're like, oh no, I just lost $500. You know what I mean? Like,
which would that ever have been true when buyer protection is so much stronger than vendor protection? Like that's the part that throws me off.
Yeah.
And I hate to have to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up. There have been so many disingenuous customers. So many. I've never seen this in my life. I was pulling my own stock, sending them my stock. They would get it, and then they would file the PayPal dispute.
Oh,
and yeah, no, and I remember those names like right there. I've got them all because
that's dirty.
Oh yeah, it was very dirty. And the thing is it was so crazy because I had never seen that side of the hobby. Like I had never experienced that before. And technically it wasn't against me. I think they were doing it as a retaliatory measure against Eresus or whatever it was that they were doing.
Yeah.
But those were my spiders.
Yeah.
Right. And so at the end of the day, even though, yes, it was a transaction that was done by and through Eresus, I felt like they were stealing from me.
Yeah.
And that was not 1 or 2 people. It was quite a few people. And, I'd get on the phone and I'd say, hey, you've got 26 spiders in your order. These are the 3 that are missing. I don't personally have those. Would you be interested in the substitution? And I always told everybody, I will substitute up. I will make this worth your time.
Yeah.
Always did. I have always lived up to that. And they would agree to everything. And that was another mistake that I made. So then we'd send out the box and I'd get the message, hey, where are those 3 spiders that you owe me? And it was like, well, we had that conversation on the phone. Oh, well, I don't remember that. Oh, okay. So then it was like, I've never been the type of person to get it all in writing.
Yeah.
But now I am.
Yeah.
I've been turned. Like it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
It's a lesson I've learned recently as well. Like, gotta get it in writing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so unfortunate, but like now I do. Now it's like, oh my God, I have to get it in writing. And people are telling me, oh, you're a fool. You should have had writing in the first place. Well, no, I have a little bit more faith in people, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, in this case, it did not pay off. And the other thing too is then we had people who were adamant, absolutely adamant that their stuff had to be shipped to their home. And Eresus doesn't have a policy against that. Eresus, on their terms of service, it says if it ships to your home and it doesn't arrive per FedEx timeframes or whatever, there's no live arrival guarantee. Now, that's Eresus. I have never done that myself. My business has never not had a live arrival guarantee on everything that we ship. Partly because I don't ship to people's homes. Not in the summer. I may do that when it's, cooler in the fall or whatever, but I definitely don't do it in the summer. But I mean, I had people that were so just over the top, ludicrous behavior, and they wanted it to their home, and it had better get to their home.
Yeah.
So against my better judgment, I sent boxes or I didn't send them physically myself, but my shippers, the people that I had here doing the work,
Yeah.
I had them shipped to people's homes. 30% of those orders didn't make it. So after about 12 or 13 of those, I said, we're done. No more. I don't care. Like, I don't care what people want. I don't care that they had an address that was in the system and it was their home address and there wasn't a problem at the time they input it or whatever their excuse is. I said to some people, at the end of the day, you don't care enough about these animals. Yeah, I understand it's a 20-minute drive all the way to the FedEx, but FedEx, they are horrible. They will put the box on the back of their truck where there's no air conditioning and drive around all day. I almost lost $30,000 because of that one time.
Yeah.
And they, these people, they got their box at 6 p.m. And it doesn't matter that it says live on it. It doesn't matter that there's an MOU between Reptile Express and FedEx that says that this stuff needs to maintain air condition. It doesn't matter. They don't care.
Yeah.
And they throw these boxes and they kill these animals. And you have to think like, okay, we told you, and the terms of service are very clear.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it shipped to your home, no live arrival guarantee. These people want a refund. They want a refund right now. They want a refund yesterday because their spiders didn't arrive alive. And, I don't run the type of business where I really want that kind of relationship with customers. So I'm just like, yeah, give them a refund. And I get it from Eris's perspective. No, they violated the terms of service. I get it. I do. If it were my business, I would just refund them and never sell them again. Just the way it is.
I mean, I've been
to be fair,
ordering tarantulas online for a long time, and 90% of them, I just go to the hell. I mean, even if it's not in the company's policy, I either like tell them just have it held at the hub, because
right.
at the time I pretty much drove by it on my way to work, so it was actually more convenient for me to stop in and get them first thing in the morning, than wait for FedEx to drop them off or something like that. And but even then, there's been times like I asked them to make sure it's held at the distribution center or whatever. And then even went online and did whatever I had to do to make sure that package was held at the hub. And then it still ended up getting put on the back of a truck. Now, I was lucky because we were a business. Like I used before I did this full time, I had another job working with my friend, and we had our own store. And so like FedEx would usually drop off packages before we were even open, because we didn't open until 10 a.m. Sometimes they're dropping them off at 9.
See, if FedEx would actually follow that, because, you select the time frames, you pay more money to get them delivered by 10:30, which is what we would always select. If FedEx actually did that, it would be great. It would be fantastic.
That didn't always work, because sometimes I would be getting tarantulas in February and they would just set it outside. Yeah. It's 25 degrees outside, and they put some tarantulas in front of the door that sit there for an hour. And I'm like, oh, these are going to be frozen. Yeah. I was lucky that they were packaged pretty well, so they were insulated, but it was definitely cold in there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Those heat packs don't last forever. Right. So there was some close calls, and I would always call up the FedEx up like, hey, this was supposed to be held. Like, oh, we're so sorry. But I also didn't want to spit in their face, because I relied on them for not just getting tarantulas, but our business shipped stuff out of there every day. So
right. No, it's a monopoly. I don't know what else to call it. You're totally right. It's a monopoly, and there's not much you could do about it. I had I had ordered from an importer, and it was, the $20,000-$30,000. And we're sitting there waiting for it, because I had called the FedEx center, and they said, no, it's going to your house, my house. And I'm like, oh my God. So I called, It was already like 12 o'clock. And I mean, it's hot in Fresno. It's dry, but it's hot. We get
Yeah.
up to 110, 115 degrees. And so I had to call someone to get a hold of the guy on the truck. And I told them, that box is insured. I lied because they don't adhere to their insurance policies anyway. I said that box is insured for $25,000 and it's worth $25,000. And if it doesn't show up, this is going to be bad. 10 minutes later, the FedEx truck shows up at my house. They have the ability, right? They're just making decisions, whatever it may be. And I want to say another 30 minutes and everything would have been dead.
Yeah.
Just another 30 minutes. So, I mean, I detest FedEx and people, they're so unreasonable. And I don't want to forget, I understand that there are some people that are in rural areas. I understand that there are some people that are nowhere near a FedEx. I understand that there are some people that have a job and they're taking care of their kids and they can't get over it. I get all of that. I do. I really do. But at the same time, and I don't mean to sound like a jerk, then you do not order spiders in the summer. Then you have to adjust the way that you order spiders. I know there was a sale. I do know that. I heard about the sale. But if you're in the position where you're not near a center and it's 110 degrees outside, at some point it's kind of an ethical issue. Like, this is dangerous for these animals. And they're, at the end of the day, yeah, there's something that we collect and they're cool and they're very gratifying, but they're animals. They're living things. And you as the customer who are strong-arming vendors into sending these spiders against, the best conditions, you're making a decision, right? And there's vendor responsibility too, because I could say as a vendor, which I do, I'm not going to do this because, this spider is irreplaceable or whatever it may be. And even if it's not irreplaceable, we're putting them in danger. And we're just not going to do it.
Well, I think some people forget to put the animal's well-being first in those situations. Like, I just want what I want.
Right.
But those are also the same people that complained about the price of overnight shipping and were like, would prefer 2 to 3 day UPS or, post office.
Weather.
And it's like, that's like, yeah, you're saving $20 on shipping, but you're exposing that tarantula to like 2 extra days getting thrown around in boxes and, it's sitting in the back of trucks and stuff. So it's kind of like,
right. No, exactly. And then you have a whole other subset of people that are like, it's not safe to ship. Don't ship. You're such an irresponsible person. Cause of course we're trying to get all the orders out. You're so irresponsible. And it's like, hold on, Patty, or whatever your name is. There's an MOU and this is going center to center. We're good. Right. They're like, it's 105 degrees over here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's what the MOU is for. There is an agreement in place between Reptile Express and FedEx, right? You go to their website. It's there. It's going air conditioning to air conditioning, right? So if it's FedEx to FedEx, I don't care what the weather is outside. Like, I don't care at all because it doesn't matter because it's FedEx to FedEx. Now, once you go to somebody's home, that's when we have to start sitting down and going, okay, well, maybe not. Right. And there are times that I definitely question if it is going FedEx to FedEx. I'll be completely honest, because it's like people get their boxes and it's completely sweat out. And it's like, well, that wouldn't have happened if it was in air conditioning. So,
well, I also think, some people don't realize how FedEx shipping works overnight. They don't realize that it's all going to Memphis or wherever the hub is, and get on a plane.
Don't say Memphis.
Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah,
trigger word.
Yeah. It's like, the weather could be great where you're ordering spiders and where you live. But if that area where that overnight hub is experiencing ice and snow, then your order's going to get delayed. I think some people have a hard time just kind of rationalize. Like, they think it's a straight line from the dealer to their house or something.
Yeah. And it's a huge, I don't know what to call it. It's like this allocation of responsibility or accountability. And, I had customers, Eresus customers sending messages in. Like, for example, there was one day that we were sending out 50 boxes. They all got delayed. I mean, all of them. And for whatever reason, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes at FedEx. And some of the messages that we received, it was just, it was unreal. It was just unreal.
Yeah.
I was educated that it was my responsibility to take this up with FedEx because I contract with them and take care of this and make sure that their box gets to them by tomorrow, like it was agreed upon. And I could only respond with, no, I mean, that's completely outside the scope of our control. And if you think I didn't call Reptile Express to figure out what's going on, I mean, you're crazy. Of course I did. And there's nothing that they can do. If FedEx is, whatever happened, happened. And oh my gosh, cancel that box. That was supposed to arrive tomorrow, and this is all your fault. And you're a scam artist, and blah 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 blah. I start losing sympathy. I start losing empathy. Like, I was very empathetic, still am to a lot of people, very sympathetic to a lot of people. There were people that, like I said, they were so graceful, and it was just like, yeah, I placed my order 5 weeks ago and I'm still waiting. And I'm like, I could hug you right now. I'm going to take care of you. Don't you worry. But then, like I said, there were some people, and I strongly suspect, I don't know, but I strongly suspect, yeah, these are the people who flip, they sell. Like, it was in their best interest to fan these flames and make things a lot worse than they really were.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be very clear. Eresus was never a scam. It still isn't. Things didn't go right between the people that were involved, and they bear the responsibility for that. That is 100% true. But at no time were they in the business of scamming people, of selling things that they did not at one point have.
Right.
I believe that they had them. Because I got some of them, and there just wasn't enough, or whatever the case may be. And I made some tremendous mistakes at the very onset of taking things over. When I got that big stack of orders, I reached out to customers and said, okay, because these were partially fulfilled, what did you get sent already? I trusted people. Huge mistake. And so I ended up sending people things they had already gotten. And so then that caused a huge ripple effect, because now the spider that was supposed to go to this person went to this person who already got it, because they lied.
Gotcha.
They lied. Because I got proof well after the fact, after I figured out systems, after I talked to a couple of the Eresus people, after decoding the mountain of terrible things that they handed to me. It was like, oh, these people already got, and some of these people, like, it was 20 spiders that they lied about, 20 tarantulas that they said, oh no, yeah, we never got them. They really took advantage of the situation. And so I just want to put that out there. Yes, Eresus is in business, and Eresus has the responsibility of living up to any commitment that they made via the traditional standards of practice of selling. But Eresus got ripped out of a lot of stuff by a lot of customers too. So, I mean, this was both sides of the playing field, and I was stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not all knowing. I'm not omniscient. I don't know what's true here and what's true there. I just know I have a lot of faith in people. I am extremely skeptical, but I still have faith in people. And so, some people said, no, I didn't get it. And, what am I going to do? What am I going to do from a business standpoint? No, I haven't received these spiders. Are you sure?
Yeah.
How does that sound to you? You know what I mean?
Right.
As a customer, it's not going to sound good.
You're just accusing them of lying right to their face.
Exactly. And so, like, that's not something I want to do. And then come to find out they absolutely lied. And they, and then we have customers who are like, well, I'm on vacation for 12 weeks. And it's like, okay, well, these spiders that they ordered, 12 other people ordered too. The ethical thing is to get them out to the people that are ready for them. That's the ethical thing to do. So, yeah, you may have placed your order earlier than those people, but you're now out of town for 12 weeks. I got to take care of the people that I do physically have these spiders. Yes, you ordered them, but so did they, and they're ready for them. The ethical thing to me, from a business standpoint, is to get them their spiders first, and then try to get replacements for the people who aren't going to need them for 12 weeks.
Who goes on a 12-week vacation? Like, I want that life.
Maybe it wasn't 12 weeks. Maybe it was 6. Whatever it was, but it's like, we're going to be out of town for this amount of time.
I'd be happy
By
for
the
a
way,
1
you're
week. 1 week vacation. I'm happy.
Oh my God, I haven't taken a vacation in years. That's one of the things that I'm trying to do right now, which is like self-care, which I'm very bad at doing. I have gained, I know it doesn't look like it maybe on camera, or maybe it does. I've gained so much weight since the beginning of this 2-month catastrophe.
Yeah.
And I feel terrible. I don't feel good. It's just genuinely an all around bad thing.
Yeah. I don't want to get off too far off the track that we're heading on, but it seemed like when we're talking about this, like you had just said that Eresus was definitely not a scam, and that was something that I was dealing with about the time the second ad ran. Started getting a lot of comments on the Instagram posts or on the YouTube video that people were, because essentially they had the whole website and it was 3 different codes that applied to your entire order, so everything on the website was discounted. And if you spend over a certain amount of money, I don't remember what it was now, but it was like 70 or 75% off. And they were essentially saying that it's a scam because they jacked the prices up. Essentially,
let's talk about that.
I even like made a spreadsheet at one point and posted it because somebody was just being really forceful with that concept. And I was like, I went through, I think it was like 20, I just kind of like arranged the website from lowest to most expensive and just took those like first 10 or 15 or 20 spiderlings and put their price and then like 4 or 5 competitors' prices. And I even did like, well, Eresus is selling a 1/2 inch sling. This business is selling a 3/4 inch sling, for $30 more. This one's selling 1/4. You know what I mean? So I had it broken down and was like, all of these prices are comparable. Sometimes they're, $5 or $10 more. Other cases, they're $5 or $10 less. And it's like, there's just a handful of adults. Like there was a couple pairing, like a couple pair, so it was like an adult pairing. I'm not saying that correct, but you know what I'm trying to say, like a breeding pair. That's it. Or just like some strange species that was an adult female or something. And those prices were like $1,500. Like those seemed more than what other people were charging. But the vibe I got when I reached out and was talking to this guy was that some of those weren't, and I don't think he said this implicitly, but it was just the vibe that I got from after our conversation that like, well, some of the spiders weren't technically, because they were so rare or because they were, adult females or something. He couldn't sell those for 75% off. So he kind of raised the prices on those to compensate some for that.
Yeah. And see, that's the whole thing is like, I was not part of the sale. I had no involvement in the sale. I don't agree. I really don't. I genuinely don't agree with how the sale was done. I think that in America anyway, that people would perceive that as kind of shifty, like to go up. And even though, and I want to be very clear about this, Eresus was selling spiders for far less than any other competitor. I don't know a single competitor out there that was selling pulchra for $21. I mean, I saw that and I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. He jacked up the price to $80, $90. I don't know what it was. Then he took 80% off and it came all the way down to $19, right? I can't do that. Like I literally can't do that. And so I agree that to do a sale like that, it's just weird. I think economically speaking, like from our standpoint, it's weird. I would have just said normally $60 / now 25. You know what I mean? As opposed to, but I also understand why they did it that way, because it's easier. It's part of a system, right? You push one button and the whole thing, if you just do a sweeping 70, a sweeping 80, but then you have problems. Then you have the spiders that you cannot afford to sell. So you have to jack those prices up to get them down to what they would normally sell for.
Yeah. I mean, I know just from my own website selling merch, doing a discount code, it's so much easier to do a discount code that applies to the entire website than to go through and individually, it's like, well, it applies to this one, but not this one. And
right.
There could be bugs that pop up. So, you think it's good, but then somebody's trying to use it and it's not allowing them because one item in their cart doesn't apply or something like that.
Yes.
And it gets so confusing. So it's easier to do it that way. So I understood where they were coming
That's why
from.
it happened.
But I also was like, but this opened it. Like people were saying, well, they did it for this one species, so they must have done it to all. And that's where where I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of like defending that. Like I'm not getting paid to be their customer service, but it just seemed so obvious to me that you're complaining about like 3 or 4 species that, and I think even when I looked at them, they had already sold. Like they were sold out. I don't even know if they even had them available. Maybe it was just an old listing on their web. I don't know. And I didn't like look at their prices before the sale started or anything. So I didn't have anything to compare it to, but I was like, but what I could do was be like, this is what the top 5 breeders or reputable breeders that I know of that are advertising these spiders for sale right now. This is what it's listed on Eresus website, and with that discount, it's considerably less. And I know that a couple of breeders reached out to me upset, like, this is hurting
Oh
our
yeah.
business. Like,
I
this
heard
isn't
about
cool.
it too. When it was announced that I was gonna start taking these over. Oh, you bet I heard about it. I got reached out. What are you doing? They've done terrible things. Da, 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 da. Uh,
It,
like I
uh,
said, they created a
yeah,
platform that nobody else had. They were selling pulcra at $21 a piece or whatever it was. I don't really know. I just know that I couldn't sell pulcra during the time that they did that sale.
yeah.
So they must have been doing something right. You know what I
And I'm
mean?
not a dealer. I don't understand what, I don't, I know that a lot goes into it. There's a lot of overhead as far as, especially the longer you have the spiderling, the more money even in time that you invested into it and feeding it. And, I don't know what they cost coming in from import and stuff like that. But I know in that situation, it almost felt like the mafia was contacting me. Like there was like a handful of breeders or dealers that were just like, that's
And
not
I
cool
think
for them to
dealers,
sell spiders at that price because we
right,
can't
and I
match
think
that
calling
price.
them dealers is a much better phrase.
Yeah.
Most dealers, they're not breeding the bulk of their stock. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I am speaking for most. They're buying. They're
Yeah.
buying. That's all there is to it. So
Well, I know
you
a
can
couple of the
imagine.
biggest dealers, a lot of their stock is imported from Europe,
Uh-huh.
or they're buying, sacks from,
Yeah,
customers
absolutely.
or other
Absolutely.
smaller breeders.
And I'm not shaming anybody for that. Like I
Yeah.
buy that stuff too. We do breed at one point, 75-80% of all of our stock was bred in-house. It's definitely not that case anymore. I have
Yeah.
no time to do any breeding right now, but I'm not shaming anybody. But
Well,
what
yeah,
I
me
am
neither.
saying,
But
yeah, what I am saying is they just bought this stuff and they bought it for the same price that Eresus is selling it for retail. Of course they're going to have a problem.
yeah.
Of course they're going to have a problem. I get it. Like I get all of that.
And I
But
just told him,
again,
like, you take that up with them. Like, I'm not setting the
right?
prices. I'm just the guy advertising. I'm
Right?
paid to advertise the sale. That's it.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Don't you have all the control in the world? Yeah, so like I guess that's the crux of it, right? There were so many moving parts. I jumped in on this bandwagon in the middle of a lot of their shifting parts. They didn't have spiders. I had to supplement orders, trying to, do all of these things at the same time. And I really feel like up until just a couple weeks ago, I still thought we were going to be able to salvage Eresus. I had done right by so many customers,
Mhm.
subbing them up, giving them spiders that were worth far more than what they ever paid out of pocket for, right? I really thought this was going to happen. Then I left town. I went to a conference, work conference, and that's when things started. I guess somewhere, I don't know where, on Facebook perhaps, somewhere somebody came out with the Chileensis that they bought from Eresus and it was not a real Chileensis, and that caused, oh my God.
Yeah. I was
And
about to ask you
just,
about that. I wanted you to, but yeah, if you're going to walk
yeah,
into it,
a
that's fine.
complete, yeah, no, well, we have to talk about it because
Yeah.
like it's kind of like the I don't like, I feel like it's not a strong enough expression, the straw that broke the camel's back. Like it was like the last, like, spear in my gut. Like, cause I
Yeah.
felt like I had taken so many and like this was the final one. And I was like, okay,
Well,
I'm
this controversy was confusing for me personally because back end of last year, I had a male H. Chilean, or well, yeah, I guess back then it was Euthlus species red, but now it's Homeoma chilenus or whatever. Am I even saying that right? I don't even know. But
Homoeoma chilensis. Well, who
yeah,
cares? Go ahead.
I had a male, and I was actually talking to Tarantula Cat, who is another YouTuber out in St. Louis, who had a female, and we were talking about me sending or even just like driving over, from where I am to where she is, and like making content essentially about breeding this, and it seemed like this would be it would be good to breed it, so he didn't go to waste, but also would be good for both of our channels as far as content creation. But then in my discussions with Eresus, he had mentioned that he needed some males, and I was like, or he saw my picture of it and offered to buy
Mhm.
it, and it was like at a price I couldn't say no to. It was like even if I do all these videos with Cat, they're never going to
So you
generate
did
that
sell
much
the
revenue.
male.
So I sold the male, a couple of males. One of, the deal was for the Chilenus, but I had a few other males too, and it was like, are you interested in these? Since I'm going ahead and sending you stuff. So it was like a package deal. I think it was like 3 different males. There's a G. rosea, and I don't even remember what the other one is. I'd have to check it out. My my text, but it was like, you got that mail. I know that he bred it. And in our discussions, he had been talking about they had multiple females and males that they had been breeding and producing egg sacs. And part
Which
of
is true.
the agreement
Which is
was,
true,
I'm paying you X amount of dollars for this male. But also, once we breed it and we have some successful egg sacs, I want to send you some. And I mean, last time I spoke to him, he was still saying, I'm still going to get those spiders out to you once we have them. And then I heard all this stuff about people not getting, like, buying Chilenas and not getting Chilenas. And I was like, whoa, like, that's weird, because I know that I sent him a male and that it had been bred. So it was a little confusing.
I have the females.
Okay.
I have the females.
Okay.
So there's a lot of truth in there. I don't know, but I have the females. That's one thing. But the part that really, really just was, okay, let me get to the bottom of this and figure out what happened. And I couldn't. Well, so-and-so must have done something, and so-and-so must have done something, and this one and that one. And we definitely had they were not fake, and blah, blah, blah. That's all it amounted to me, was blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, like, we have to figure out a resolution to this. And I will say that some people out there did get real ones. They did, because they sent me pictures and said, look, it's fake. And I'm like, no, that is a Chilensis. I've been working with that species forever and a day. You have real ones. So there are people out there who got real ones. There's a handful of people who got fake ones.
Like, I was wondering if it was maybe a situation, like, especially from my conversation with this individual, it was like, for whatever reason, the people that were doing the shipping, he had to get rid of, or they quit or something like that. So he brought in new people. And I was like, I wonder if the new people grabbed, because a lot of times they're labeled like H something, and they grabbed the wrong spider and sent it, thinking.
It's happened out of my shop where they have, I don't know if that's what happened, but, like, yeah, absolutely. It's happened out of my shop where, like, I have, like, Dominican purple for Mictopus species, Dominican purple, and I just put D.per, and they sent those out as purpureas.
Oh yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah.
It does happen. I don't know if that's what happened, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And the part that really, like, I just said, okay, I'm done. I got to stop, because I'm just going to become part of this disease. I'm going to become part of this ship that's sinking. Is I can't respond and say, oh, I know exactly what happened, because on their end, they're convinced that no, that they had real ones. And they did. They absolutely did, because there are people out there who did get real ones, and they don't know what happened. And it's like, okay, I can't continue to work on salvage. This is how I saw it on August 1st or 3rd, when I came back to death threats and other things.
Yeah.
Which was, why am I going to continue to try and salvage this business when I have a fully functioning, very good reputation company of my own?
Right.
And now I have access to their network. That's what I wanted to begin with, was that network. I got it. Network's done. I have the network. I'm going back to my own company, because we have, I don't know, 150 reviews on Facebook, all 5 stars. Like, we've never done anybody wrong. Now, then it was the moment where I had to sit there and figure out, well, what about these people who didn't get their $300 spider? And I thought, you know what? I don't have Chilensis. I don't, but I have other stuff. I can give people stuff, because why not? Because I, as somebody who is running a business, looking from a consumer standpoint, if somebody did that for me and they didn't have to, I'd give them my business. And that's what I thought I was doing, which was, all right, I'm going to take a list of all of the people here who for sure don't have real Chilensis, because people send me a picture. I'm like, no, that's a real one. Okay, that's definitely not, right? And we're going through it. I don't know how many people it's at. Maybe 20, 25. It's not as many as people think it is. Like, people think it's hundreds, and it's not. It's a small handful of people who did not get Chilensis. Okay. So I'm making a list of them, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to get them free spiders. Free because it's from me.
Yeah.
Whatever happened between them and Eresus has nothing to do with me, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to just help them out, because I have a ton of spiders. Why not? It's I feel like I'm on the last leg of this nightmare. Just be courteous, and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give them stuff. It's not going to be Chilensis, but it'll be whatever I have. It'll be pulchras or green bottles or whatever they want. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to make right. I'm just going to do right by them, because hopefully people remember that this random nobody came in and really did right by a lot of people when I did not have to do that. And I have been subjected to an insane amount of abuse. And I feel like I'm like, I feel like it's almost over. I
Yeah.
hope that it's almost over. The website is being shut down in just a couple of days. I'm done. And we're to the point now where there's literally only, I don't know, 10 or 11 orders, that I have to work through with people to get their substitutions, because it's the same situation. They don't have what they ordered.
Yeah.
And then I'm done. I'm completely done. And then I have access to that network. And so I'm going to bring those spiders in, and I'm going to offer those spiders. I definitely will not offer them for $14 like Eresus did, but I at least will have the species available, and never again have to negotiate with people and send things out to them that they didn't buy. I'm not doing this whole substitution crap. Just gonna, we've got it in house. I know it's being cared for. I know who's touching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing that I definitely want to clear up with a lot of people is, when I sent out that public statement, I got people going, "Oh my God, maybe my Diversipes is fake. Maybe my Pulchra is fake. Maybe no. Like, it was not a scam operation. You got authentic spiders. There were vendors who definitely made some insinuating remarks that stirred the pot and encouraged people to send these obtuse emails about, "Hey, can you look at this? Is this a green bottle blue?" Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But no, nobody got fake spiders. I do not believe it was intentional. I just think that at this point, it's just not worth my time to salvage or try to. It's just not.
So was the original plan like you were gonna take over like Eris's
So
business, or
yeah.
like merge your business and their
Yeah.
business together? Or I
So
mean,
the original plan was I was taking over all operations, right? So they initially had whoever they had, a group of people that were doing their operations, and they were the ones responsible for their networking, right? That's what they bring to the table, is the networking. And networking, as you know, as a social media goon or whatever you want to call yourself, you
goon.
know how important networking is, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's super important. And so that's what they had. That's what they bring to the table. But they don't have the manpower in the day-to-day operation. So that was the agreement. I was to come in and fix this mess, clean up this mess, put down some money, but nowhere near as much as I would have to have put down if I didn't have to do all this work of cleaning this mess. So it was a commensurate agreement.
Now
I would come in.
they had a brick and mortar store as well, right?
So yes and no.
Okay.
Did Eresus own the brick and mortar? I don't think so. Did whoever they were working with own the brick and mortar? I think so. Right? Like, there's only so much I can say, and there truly is only so much I actually understand.
Yeah.
But they had a partnership, right? So Eresus is bringing stuff in. They're working with so and so to get their stuff out, and clearly the operation did well. And like, that's the part that really it doesn't hurt me personally, because it's
Yeah.
not comments about me, but it's like, people should be a little more like cognizant of, these guys were doing business and had been doing business, I don't know, for a year and a half, 2 years, and it was fine. Like, they didn't rip anybody off. They look at their reviews. They have good reviews. Like you said, you did your due diligence. Like, to just snap your fingers and say, "Oh, they were a scam operation, they're a fly by night." It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. And it makes it more difficult for people who are new, that might be starting a business. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to name the website. I'm not going to say who, but like, I feel bad for them. I feel genuinely bad for them. I have gotten multiple emails, text messages, phone calls. By the way, unsolicited. I don't want them. Don't call me, email me, text me. I don't want them.
Yeah.
But asking, "Hey, there's a new website over here, and we think it's a scam because it looks pretty similar to Eresus." And I'm like, okay. So then I go and look at the website. Takes me 2 minutes to figure out who it is. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, this is terrible for them. So I think it's irresponsible. Eresus was never a scam. Things got out of control, obviously. And yes, things are not going to end well for that business name. But I think people should recognize that they did something that nobody else has done before. They really did. I don't know anybody else who did as many sales, as many orders, as much moving. And I'm not talking about importers. I'm talking about retailer, right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, things are not going to work out. And I think that I have to take care of myself. I have to take
Mhm.
care of my business. I have to take care of everything that we've worked hard for. And I think that I realized that the decision was I have to terminate the Eresus relationship that I have with them, one. And without me, there's no way they can survive. So it's going to get shut down. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too far. It's too far gone. And so I'm going back to doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to make a website because I live in 2022 and that's what people in 2022 do.
Welcome
And
to
now
the
I
future.
have the network.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a shame. Like it sucks that people, got, they had these bad experiences and stuff. But when I first started talking to him, like I'm always, and I think it's just because I've been burnt so many times by, and it's not, a lot of times I don't even think people are actively trying to scam people. It's just, they're a hobbyist that starts breeding and things just start picking up and they start selling and they get bigger and bigger. And then it just kind of reaches this inflection point, this tipping point where it's like, I can't keep up, and it all comes crumbling down. Like it's a repeating pattern. So like I'm always
a very delicate web, right?
Yeah.
No pun intended, but it's they have so many delicate pieces. So did Eresus, but they had so many delicate components that were so heavily contingent on one another that the moment one thing fell apart, it just created this Pandora's box of, and you're right, this has happened time and time again. And I will tell you, that's why it has not happened to me or my business, because I've learned from other people.
Yeah.
I don't make commitments until I have it in my hand. I don't know, how long have you been in the hobby, or how long have you been doing this?
I mean, I got my first tarantula in 2000, but I've been doing YouTube videos for about 6 years.
So long enough that like there have been a couple of names where they do pre-sales, where they would commit to spiders or things to people that they genuinely had deals in the works, right? Like they had an agreement between so-and-so and this, they were getting it, but they've already committed it to 25 other people. Well, something happened here, right? And then it fell apart.
Yeah.
And then that creates the spiral and it takes people down.
Yeah.
This is why I don't do it. I refuse to do it. I don't commit anything I don't have right in front of me. I don't commit to, like, I'll tell you, remember, I'm very skeptical. I don't, so like, look, we have 20,000 spiders. And yeah, I've got, let's say geniculata that are the size of a 50-cent piece. I could sit there and really eye them, and I'd give you a pretty damn good educated guess on which ones are girls. And I bet you I'd be right about almost every single one of them because I've been doing this long enough. I would probably be right about, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I have 20,000 spiders. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But then I see, like the stuff that came in from wherever, and it's like, oh, this is a female and this is a female. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. Like, I don't feel comfortable because it's this big.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. Many, many, many years ago, 150 Metallica came in. This was back when they were selling for $500 a sling.
I remember that.
They were all males.
Oh, wow.
Every single one of them, all 150. So I don't not think that people out there definitely know what they're doing and they could definitely get these things sexed right out of the sack. I think that's plausible. They've figured out a way to do it, but I haven't, and I'm not going to, because I don't care enough to be able to sex an Aphanopelma bicoloratum when it's 3/4 of an inch. I'm just not doing it. And so I have to deal with that. Like, that's the last leg of, I got this whole bunch of stuff that was handed to me that says female, 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 female. And they're like, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know. I have a lot of thinking to do because I can't sell them for the price of an unsexed sling because that's not the price that were paid for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I don't genuinely feel comfortable enough, if I wouldn't trust the seller, then I shouldn't sell it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm going to get stuck with a lot of stuff.
I
It's going to take
understand.
me a long time to recover.
Yeah. Yeah. I always recommend, anytime somebody asks me about a pre-import sale, I'm always like, no, I wouldn't do it. Like, that's what I say. Like, I don't do that because, you know, they like you said, they could have a guarantee, like they know that this is what they're getting. They have an established relationship with this exporter. They, you know,
Doesn't
but
matter.
you never know what's going to happen at the border. And I have seen too many times, you know, you know, $20,000 imports coming in and half of it gets seized. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like,
And frozen.
yeah, it's like, well, you gave them your money. They gave it to the person in another country. They're not getting that money back. So, you know,
Right.
are you either going to get screwed or the business is going down because they're going to be paying everybody else. So I'm like,
And it's on one genuine mishap. It's not an intentional thing. And I don't know if that qualifies a scam.
yeah,
I think scam implies intention. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misusing the word. But to me, scam operations imply intention. And I think Eresus is a fantastic example of unintended consequences that had a tremendous amount of ripple effects. And it's also the reason why, so like I'm OCD, and anybody who knows me personally knows that like I'm intolerable. People hate me. I'm kidding. I'm not that bad. But like I have to be in control. Like
okay,
I have to be in control. So for my business, there are not moving parts. And I think that's part of the reason why Eris has reached out to me. Like I am in control. And so I don't have 32 sticks in the fire that this guy's doing that and this. Nope. Because if you don't do what I tell you to do for my business, you're gone. You're out. You're done.
yeah,
So I think that's kind of like the big difference is I'm not able. I'm putting it out there. I'm not able to accomplish what they accomplished because they had more people banding together to create this enterprise, and I'm just me.
yeah,
Kind of worried about, I should hire somebody that's able to do some secretarial work because I'm tired. But no, I don't trust them. I can't. I'll have to do it myself. Right. So,
right,
but look at me. I mean this. I'm a nobody. I've not accomplished very. Yeah, we've bred 20,000 spiders. Whoop-de-doo. But like, there are people who started this hobby a couple of years ago, and then they made a Facebook page or whatever, and a YouTube or whatever it is. Then everybody knows who they are, and everybody takes what they say for face value. And it's shocking to me. I'm
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
that's not accurate information, but I couldn't say anything because I'm a nobody and they have a YouTube page.
yeah,
It kind of reels in my head constantly that social media is so powerful. And it's like, what I'm doing something wrong, right? Like I'm doing something incredibly wrong because look at these people. And I think that's the whole thing is if you're not the whole package, if you don't really know what you're talking about, and if you're not humble, right? Like some of the statements that have been made by some of these people out there, I kind of I just kind of go, oh my God,
yeah,
and I just, if you're not humble and you don't really know what you're talking about,
yeah,
I think that social media is going to make you you're going to get a lot of influence really quickly, but you're not going to last. Right. Like
right,
that's what I've seen. And so, Eresus did things that I never even dreamed of doing. Like, and so credit be to where credit's due,
mm-hmm.
but it's the end of that chapter. Like it has to be.
Yeah.
It
It's
has
some
to be.
people posting even in like my own Facebook group and stuff, like shame on Richard for promoting this business and stuff.
I saw
and
that.
I
I
was
saw
like,
that comment.
yeah, I was
Very,
really
yeah.
excited. Like, and I'm just being honest. Like when I first started, I was hesitant at first. They sent me a box of spiders to unbox. That was kind of how I got to know them, know how they shipped, how they would arrive, what the quality of the spiders were. I was a little not confused, but just like taken aback by their insistence on having spiderlings listed by instar instead of inches. And I was like, I understand that's how they do it in Europe and other parts of the world, but they also use the metric system over there, and people in the U.S. are very resistant against that. Like they're used to half-inch, quarter-inch, 8-inch, or whatever. You start talking instars. I had some people that were like, "This was supposed to be 3 inches," and I'm like, "No, that means a third instar. Like that doesn't mean."
Oh my
3
God.
inches.
And that has been such a huge problem. And what a non-issue, right? Like
Yeah.
just change the system.
Right.
And like that's the other thing. And I'm a conservative sizer. Like I will, I've got stuff this big and I go, it's an inch and a quarter, when in reality, it's more like an inch and 3/4.
Mhm.
So I'm a very conservative sizer, but yeah, I agree with you. Little things like that, like it's not worth the fight. Who cares if it's industry standard in Europe? It's not here. And
Yeah.
you really need to align with industry standards here. Like, absolutely. But to go back to that, at least the comment that I saw that was shaming you, the last thing any of us want to do is be righteous, right? We don't want to stand above anybody and look down on them.
Mhm.
And I felt like that comment was an incredibly poor taste. I would have deleted that comment immediately because it's not a good look.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, you supported or promoted, or whatever terminology you want to use, one, in good faith, two, rightfully so, because the business was an ethically operating business. It wasn't until this sum of multiple parts that came together to really bring this business down, whether it was these people leaving, these people doing something unscrupulous. I don't know. I don't have that answer. And I think my tipping point was, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care anymore. I don't care to sift. I don't care to ask. I don't care to anything anymore because I'm tired. I'm genuinely tired. And I just want to go back to the relationship that I've always had with my customers, which has been by and far very pleasant. And I don't want to continue dancing that dance with the very ugly side of this hobby, with people who are rightfully upset. I'm not saying that they don't have a right to be upset. They do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the business is gone. It's effectively gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
And so I am being nice. I don't know what word you want to use, but like, I'm going out of my way to say, hey, look, I know that you got screwed over here. I don't know who did it. I don't know who done it. Somebody done it, but I'm going to help you out. Right.
Yeah.
And my expectation, maybe it's a foolish expectation, is be thankful and wait, because like, I have so many other things going on. I'm not dealing with the Chilensis thing right now. I'll deal with that in a month or two. Like, because one, it's not my responsibility ultimately. And two, there are other things that are very pressing. Like, I'm making a public commitment to say, I'm going to take care of you. I wouldn't have said it publicly if I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
I've had people come to me at the expos, like just recently at the Super Show in Pomona. Several people came up to me. They showed me their phone. They showed me their receipt for their Chilensis. They showed me the spider in question. They said, okay, go ahead and pick out $300 worth of stuff. Take it.
Yeah.
Right. So I've taken care of a good chunk of people, not everybody. I'll get to them. I'm like, this podcast has been a little long and I hope they get to the end. Please wait. Like, just slow your roll, because
Yeah.
I have names. I'll reach out to people. And again, this is coming from somebody who does not owe anybody anything. I do not owe anybody anything, but I'm going to make it right, because I feel like, as somebody who one is inheriting the network that Eris has got, so I'm going to be able to soon have spiders that they used to offer that I never had. So that's one thing. That's like a big benefit for me. And two, I feel like it's the least I can do for especially some of these people who have been incredibly graceful. These are the kind of customers that businesses love, right? Like that these are the kinds of customers we want. There have been a few unfortunate, I don't want to say people, but there have been some anger that, just really has manifested in ways that I just don't think is cool. But that's actually not the majority. I think that's a smaller group of people. And I think that by and far, the greatest side of the tarantula community is something that I bear witness to at this point, dealing with people who genuinely had every right to be angry, and they were just so great. I don't know. There's just no other way to put it. They were just so great. And so that's just what kept me going.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Right on. Yeah. When the first time I actually ever heard of Seven Wonders was recently, like, it was like right after I put out the unboxing video for Eresus. I had a lot of people kind of, because, when you do something like that, you get a lot of like, you can ask around, you can read reviews, but when you actually like post a video about unboxing, if there are any skeletons in the closet, that's when people will come out with their pitchforks and get in the comments like, oh, they're terrible. And, a lot of times it's just based on one interaction or something. But like overwhelmingly, the response was very positive. And a lot of people saying like, well, not only done business with them, but I've been to their physical store. And so I was feeling really good about them. And it was about that time I started also seeing comments or getting messages from people who are like, well, Seven Wonders is really good as well. And I was like, who is Seven Wonders? And I think somebody even like reached out to me and ever want me to put you on my website and stuff as a recommended dealer. And so I was having to like look into, who you were, because I'm not out in California. I don't really know a lot of the
You mean
breeders
you don't
out
want to
there.
fly out here and come check out the facility? I could pick up my laptop and show you around.
We definitely might have to do that one day, because I would love to go back out. I actually a couple other businesses out there I'm supposed to go visit sometime, so we might have to make just a whole trip out of it. But I was just really excited about the partnership that I was building with this business, and all the things that they had going on in the works, and the connections around the world, and some of the stuff that was going on with Mexico. I was like genuinely excited. I was like, this could be a really cool business and really move the hobby forward. And they appreciate me and what I'm doing and the business that I'm able to, send their way. It was like, if that unboxing video hadn't brought them business, they never would have come to me and wanted to do a promotion. But they were like, the video looked really good. We got a lot of customers that said they are ordering because of that video. So we want to invest in you. And I need money. Like, I don't make much money doing this.
I need money too.
So it's like, I like what you're doing, and I'm excited about what your future plans are. And you want to, and you want to bring me along with that, or like at least have me as a small part, just as far as like advertising. And, and it also kind of, I might have to like raise my advertising prices, because I can be like, well,
no, wait,
they advertised with me and they ended up going out of business because they got so much business. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, you put somebody out of business. My gosh. Yeah. And again, that's what it goes back to is, you're networked, that was your strength, which is you are connected with tarantula people. I'm definitely not. People think Diego owns the business. Diego, he's like my right-hand guy, and very charismatic human being. Yeah, I'm sure you have. He's a very charismatic human being. There are sometimes that I want he's going to watch this and go, ooh, I kind of want to strangle him sometimes, but like genuinely he's a good human being.
Yeah.
But like nobody knows who I am, and people were starting to refer to me as like the guy between the shadows, and I was like, okay. I'm here. It's not like I am intending to hide. I just, I run another business. I have a sign language interpreting agency. I manage a ton of other people. I have other things going on. And so this just isn't my, the one thing that I do. And so I think that's part of it as well. But I will tell you, it's definitely the one thing I've been doing for 7 weeks, because
I can imagine.
It's been just consuming every aspect of my life, and I'm getting phone calls and messages at 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And oh my gosh, I just can't wait for this to be over.
I think part of the reason I was so excited to work with them initially, especially like, this, like what was going on in the early part of this year, is because I had spent like at least 2 years reaching out to dealers and other businesses, trying to sell them on the idea of how powerful like social media advertising could be, like, because a lot of these dealers will run ads on Facebook or on Google and pay hundreds or thousands of dollars a month to have, posts pop up in people's news feed. And I'm like, you don't know exactly who they're even showing that to. Somebody could have like searched tarantula extermination because they live in Texas and they don't want tarantulas in their backyard. And they're serving up ads for your business to these people just because tarantula was in a search term. I was like, but if you advertise, not even on my channel, but anybody's channel or any kind of social media platform that has a significant following of people interested in tarantulas, every person that sees that is a potential customer.
It's a hyper targeted audience. Absolutely.
And
you're right.
Some businesses, they didn't see it. They're like, no, I prefer doing, the Facebook ads or whatever. And to me, it felt like this was the first business I dealt with that not only bought an ad, because a lot of businesses bought it, but they were excited at the potential and they could see the value in it. And I was like, we're on the same wavelength here.
Right. Well, and you know what? Like, I've never not seen the value. Like, obviously I'm not involved in social media to the extent that I probably should be, but I've always known the value in terms of, I was seeing it happen with like vendors or whatever that to me were, they sort of popped up overnight, but they had a YouTube channel and like just everybody followed them. And I think my big thing up until now was we weren't ready for that.
Yeah.
Like I told you earlier, my godmom, my adopted mom, very close to her, when she passed away, I left the hobby. So when I left the hobby, I had a lot of spiders, and I pushed them out to several people who are now vendors
Yeah.
because that's how they got started.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. And so I I came back because a very good friend of mine, her name is Shelly. Everybody needs to send love to Shelly because she's an incredible human being. She's been working with animals for 40 some odd years, and she was working at the local pet store here. And her and I were very close. I've been selling her store, the store that she worked at, tarantulas, for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And she reached out to me and she said, "Hey, Jonathan, can you?" Now, I wasn't involved in tarantulas at the time. This was 2019. "Can you teach me how to breed tarantulas? Because I don't know how much longer I can keep working, and I don't think I'm going to be able to survive financially."
Mm.
And I said, "Yeah, I could teach you how to breed tarantulas, but you don't know how to sell anything. You don't know how to market."
Yeah.
And so I said, "I love this. It's my passion. Let's do this again." All of this, all that I've done in the past few years has led up to this moment where I have created a store so that that woman can retire.
Yeah.
That was it. That was literally the only reason I did it, and that the only reason I came back. So I didn't want to go big time.
Right.
Even in the years past, I always sold to the big vendors, like, because I would produce, whatever, 12, 13 different species. And I'd say, "Hey, take 200, 300, 200, 300." And I'd get rid of them
Mhm.
that way. I never wanted to go big time. It isn't until now that I realized that, like, yeah, we need to expand our operations. We need to do what Eresus was doing. That's why I took him up on that offer, because this store needs support, and that's why I got sucked into this nightmare. And I am adamant that we're gonna make it work, because now I have access to the networks that you've been referencing. and
Yeah. It was an amazing
and
dream that turned into a nightmare that hopefully you can move back into an amazing dream.
I think I'm gonna have like trauma for a little while, but yeah,
But
yeah.
I
I
should
mean,
throw out this
yeah.
caveat. When I said they were the only business that saw that's not entirely, they were the only dealer that I dealt with that really appreciated or saw the value. There's other businesses like Tarantula Cribs, for instance. Like when I first started working with him, it was just one guy. He had a laser cutter. You know what I mean? Like he started working with me and a couple other people, and now he's got a pretty good business going.
See, like I've
Um,
never heard of them.
like
Is
I'm not
that
taking
an
credit for his
acrylic?
success. Yeah, he makes the acrylic enclosures specifically for tarantulas. Yeah, I'm
See,
not.
now it's like, oh, like I need to find out who these people are.
You should definitely
See
reach
that
out to
that
him. Yeah, he's got some
yeah.
really good enclosures, and it's like it sucks. I wish he had started a couple years ago, because I had invested so much money in buying the glass exoterra enclosures and stuff, and it's like,
Oh,
man, I
yeah.
wish I could sell these off and just replace
But
them all
acrylic
with
is
the.
so expensive. We have some acrylic stuff from like Repti Zoo, and
Mhm.
I don't know who else we have it from, but like, and it's just very expensive.
Yeah.
It's just very, very expensive.
It sucks for
I don't
him
know.
because he started right before COVID. So like he started making and got the designs, started building them. And then it was like as soon as he started advertising, the business started taking, because he was just building them for himself essentially. His
Yeah,
wife
yeah.
got the laser cutter for her little side business on Etsy, and like making knickknacks and stuff. And he was like, I bet I could use that to make an enclosure. And people on Facebook were like, "That's awesome. Where'd you get that?" He's like, "I made it." And they're like, "Okay, will you make me one? Like, how much would it cost?" So it kind of like just grew organically from that. But it's like as soon as it
That's
started
awesome.
taking off, COVID hit, acrylic, plexiglass prices just like quadrupled because everybody was using them for their shops as barriers and stuff. And he was like, I don't know how we're going to get through this, but he managed to get it done. And yeah, they're a good company. I feel like I'm advertising for them now, but yeah, that was like that, a good relationship. So it's like, I know that these relationships can exist between businesses and social media influencers or content creators or whatever you want to call them. And I think that that's the best way for both sides of the hobby to kind of move forward. It's kind of working together, and
Oh,
everybody
I
benefits
agree,
from
because
that.
yeah, at the end of the day, like, that was one of the other things that was like, wow, they're bringing in spiders and stuff that people have been wanting, that they don't have access to. I work with a lot of bread and butter stuff. I was really focused on Zenesthus pamphibedius for a while. Now they were doing things that I thought, yeah, let's do it, because they're doing things that that I'm not doing. And so
Yeah.
I am with you. I think working together is the best way to go. And at the end of the day, though, and I'm going to just put this out there, and maybe now I'm going to lose every potential customer that I would have gotten for doing all this work, but I'm going to have to put it out there. There's a lot of virtue signaling in our community. I think it's actually across anything that deals with animals, but I can at least talk about the tarantula community. The people out there that, oh, that business is only in it for the money. Well, I hate to break it to you, but a business needs money to operate.
Yes.
And I hear that, I see that, oh, that business is in it for the money. They don't care about the animals. And I'm like, how do you make that claim? Because what is it that any business is doing any differently than anybody else? They're feeding and watering these animals and then they're shipping them off, right? Like that's the end of it. Lots of virtue signaling where you see, and to me, that's a big red flag. Anytime you see somebody that's like, talking about, oh, well, this is, they're doing these, they're just in it for the profit. They're just in it for the money. Anytime you hear anybody say that to me, that's a huge red flag. And I see a lot of that going on social media. I thought I was gonna exist on social media by being helpful, right? Like somebody, like on your page, somebody will ask a question, and then I see a lot of misinformation, or let's not say misinformation. Let's say heavily opinionated information, not really based on facts, not really
Okay.
based on you know. And then I'll go, oh well, this is an ASL. This is like throwing out a piece of information. So then, like I'll throw out a little piece of information, and then you get the overnight experts, right? And so I'm like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. So I really feel like I need to find some way into the mainstream world of tarantula stuff. But I'm with you. I think working together is the only way, because at the end of the day, government is making decisions that don't want us to be able to have these things. Brazil's trying to retroact this Lacey Act garbage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's like the more that we're, I don't know, at each other's throats, there's enough business to go around. There really, really is, and I think that people should realize that and
Yeah.
adjust.
I mean, like on the short, like conservatively speaking, I work 50 hours a week just doing Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that. So it's like if you're running a business and trying to create a social media presence, like you can't do it all on your own. You can't take care of the spiders. You can't fill the orders.
I'm glad you're telling
and
me
you
that.
can't do that. Like it's a lot of work. I mean, you need somebody just focused on social media, somebody just focused on shipping, somebody just focused on care.
Okay, well, now I don't feel as bad.
It's a difficult thing to do. So it's like, well, why don't we work together instead of just everybody trying to be independent or something? And I understand what you're saying. Like there are, in my experience at least, there are some business, and I don't think anybody gets into selling tarantulas to make money. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like a turnkey. It's not like, I know people that have opened up coffee shops that don't like coffee, but it was big in the early 2000s. It was like everything's set up. You just pay, $20,000 to this company, and they send you cups and coffee and machines and everything, and you can just open up a store and sling coffee.
Yeah.
It's not the best coffee out there, but you're making money.
Lots of money.
Yes, I mean, I worked for a guy like that for a long, and now it's just like you don't even like you're drinking tea. Why do you own a coffee shop? But so I don't think anybody gets into tarantulas for that. But I do think there are some people that maybe lose their like they're still caring for these tarantulas and stuff, but other things become more important.
I think there are people that come in thinking that they're going to get rich overnight. I really do. I love tarantulas. Like I could not possibly love them more. I've got tarantulas that like I've set up in the shop. They've got names. You know what I mean? Like I love tarantulas. I wouldn't do this if I didn't. But I also know that there isn't enough solely in tarantulas. And so I've got, a reptile store that has the entire gamut of animals, because I have to be able to target, different consumer markets, because otherwise we're not going to survive, because the cost of rent out in California for a store, you know what I mean? Like, like out in California, it's very difficult to run a business. It's very, very expensive. And that it's kind of like a catch-22 for me, because when I was breeding everything, didn't have to buy them. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's time, and time is money, but I didn't have to buy everything. And so I could just breed them.
Yeah.
And now it's like breeding takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. I have a breeding facility. I do a physical breeding facility in San Jose where I live. It's not huge. Facility. That sounds so obnoxious. I have a glorified shed. How about that? That sounds a little more humble. I have a glorified shed.
Yeah.
Where Diego and I, we do the work on the spiders in there. We have several hundred breeders in there. But I haven't had any time. I have not had any time to breed them. Right now, they're just being fed and watered, and a lot of stuff is just kind of going to the wayside because I have been so engrossed in this Eresus thing and trying to acquire these networks. So, like, I feel like the networks are acquired, but now I have to make this decision of, do I just stick with the networks, or do I continue back to breeding? Because I've got all the breeders there, and breeding is fun. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I have to, like what you said, I think a lot of people lose focus, and that's what I don't want to do. It's like, I've got to narrow down what it is that we want to do. But
I've just seen a few businesses that started as a hobbyist, that started breeding, started selling. It grew, and at some point it stopped being so much about the hobby and the tarantulas as was making a profit. And I think part of that, I mean, you're a business, you got to make profit, but things started getting shady, and then they ended up disappearing. And it's like, that's happened more than once. So it's anytime somebody's like, I'm going to start a business and start breeding, it's like, I go for it, follow your dreams, but also at the same time, like, don't try to become Walmart of the tarantula hobby.
Well, and that's the other thing too is, so I'm a coda. I'm a child of deaf parents. I was raised by deaf people.
Okay.
And we have a very different outlook on life than I don't know, a lot of other people. We're very like uncomfortably transparent. I think that's maybe a good way to put it.
Okay.
Like, everybody's business is out on the table when you're in the deaf community. Like, that's just how it is. And part of that is because deaf people they're still marginalized, but they were so marginalized and so cut off from mainstream the world over the early 1900s that they had to rely on each other for information. So that's where it comes from. So it's like, hey, I have a wart on my where, like, come take a look at it. Have you seen this before? Yeah, Mike had one. Oh my God, let me go talk to Mike. Like, it's so grassroots, and it's just so, it's so open. And so I bring that with me, and for better or worse, oftentimes for worse, in everything that I do. Like, I'm hyper transparent, and that's kind of like where I don't get it. I don't really understand, like, we have to keep all of our operations secret. I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
People can come, they could see what I'm doing. I do get the idea of, you don't want to teach people the secrets on how to breed this species or that species, because then they're just going to do it and take all your business. Like, okay. Like, I see that. But at the same time, I had no problem calling people up and saying, yeah, your spiders are not here. We got 11 of them, but we're missing 5 of them.
Yeah.
And they're like, why are you saying that?
Yeah.
Because it's true. Like, hello, I'm going to say that because it's true. I think most people, yes, there were some unsavory responses to that. Oh, you fucking so-and-so and oh, I hope I can cuss on this.
Yeah.
Anyway, and they're yelling at me and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. But I think most people respond to transparency and truth more than we even recognize. And so I'm very transparent about what I do. I don't say things that I don't mean. I don't say anything about anybody that I wouldn't say to them, which for better or worse, and oftentimes worse, like I'm kind of an all out on the table sort of guy. And I think that's another one of the reasons why maybe Eresus thought we could fix this.
Yeah.
And I think we maybe would have been able to, had it not been for whatever happened.
Yeah.
Whoever did it, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, you seem like a really nice guy, and I'm really glad that you were willing to come on the podcast. I know some people listening are probably very disappointed because word got out that I was going to be talking to you. We were going to be recording this, and some people were pretty much demanding a crucifixion. They wanted me to just roast you the entire time, hold your feet to the fire, and I'm like, I just want to know what happened. Like, that's the truth is what's important to get out, not just
Well, and I'll tell
assassinating
you,
someone's character,
yeah,
you know?
anybody who wants to do that, they can be my guest because, I have nothing to do with it. Like
Yeah.
the only thing that I have to do with anything was I was coming in trying to fix problems. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear, but I am not apologetic at all to anybody about anything. Like I owe nobody anything. I owe nobody anybody apologies for absolutely nothing. And I'm standing by that. Like I tried to fix a problem. The only apology I have to make is I failed, like I couldn't fix every single problem that
Mhm.
they had within the layers of the problems with problems with problems. I couldn't fix all of that. So, in one sense, yeah, I wasn't able to do it. But other than that, like, no, I don't know anybody anything under any
Yeah.
circumstances.
And just based on I don't even know what the culture right now, or just the state of people's mindsets on a global, or at least
No,
within
you're
this
right.
country, there's gonna inevitably, I'm sure someone's gonna leave a comment that is very conspiracy minded and is
Oh,
thinking that,
they're already coming in.
yeah,
They're already coming in. Yeah.
like I'm
Oh,
just still
you're
shilling for
just
Eresus or
yeah,
whatever. So I just want to
yeah.
make it clear, I invited you on. You didn't pay me. Like this isn't a paid promotion or anything like that. Like I'm not making any money off this. I just wanted to have my questions answered and kind
Oh,
of
for
take what
sure.
I knew, compare it to what you knew, and kind of put them together and try to get a better picture and do it publicly so everybody can see. Everybody. I've been
No,
getting a
and
lot
I
of
found
people
it
like make a public statement, make a public statement. I'm like, I don't
yeah.
know what to say. Like I
Yeah,
can.
and I'm with you. I found this very helpful. Like you shared things with me that I didn't know, and maybe it's my own fault because I didn't ask, and that's fine. But you're totally on. You're right about the conspiracy stuff. Like I've already seen some messages. Oh, I know you were in it from the beginning, and you're just Eresus 2.0 and blah blah blah.
Yeah. This is all just
Okay.
a PR stunt.
Okay, whatever. That's
Yeah.
fine with me. I don't care. I think most people are smarter than that.
Yeah.
And I can have conspiracies all day. I think they're fun sometimes. So be
Right.
my guest. Have
And
your
it's just the,
conspiracies.
just the reality of the internet. And it's something I fall victim to so often. It's like, I have a video, like 80,000 people watched, and there's like 500 comments, and 450 of those comments are very positive. But there's like two comments that are really negative. And in my
And they're the
mind,
only
I'm
ones you
like,
think about. Yeah.
that's what everybody thinks, It's like, and almost,
I
and
have
I fall into that trap. I argue with these people. I'm like, no, you're wrong. And then I realize after we've gone back a few times, like, I don't even know who they are. I don't
yeah,
even,
not worth it.
sometimes I'll even like look up their Facebook page or something. I'm like, oh, well, this person's an idiot. Like, why am I arguing?
Well, see, that's what I'm trying not to do. Like the 6 or 7 absolutely terrible human beings that I've interacted with. It's like I don't want to remember their names. I don't want to look up their Facebooks. I don't want to anything, but I can't get their names out of my head. But I will
Yeah.
tell you, it's like the one thing that I have really committed to, really, like I've actively been working on it. I'm not just saying it, is like just letting it go. There's always going to be assholes.
Yeah.
Always. There's always assholes. There's never going to be a shortage of assholes. We've got our fair share. I'm sure people out there think I'm an asshole, whatever. Like they're always out there. And so like I have committed to going, oh, there's an asshole comment. There's that next,
Right.
next, and moving on. Like it's hard to do because you just want to
Yeah.
you get that feeling inside of you and you're
Right.
just like, oh, you have the audacity to say these things from the comfort of your own little computer.
Right.
But then I just go, you know what? Let it go because
Yeah.
they don't matter. They
So
don't
tough though,
matter.
man. It's so tough. Like in real life, I kind of see myself like I'm an asshole. Like I don't have a whole lot of friends. Like my best friend lives 3 hours away. We see each other a couple times a year, talk maybe once a month. You know what I mean? Like other than that, it's my wife, kids, and the tarantulas. Like
Well,
nobody
you got
I
a
really.
wife, so somebody likes you.
Yeah, she likes me.
I don't know about the kids though.
At least one of them likes me.
Okay, good.
The other one's
Very
probably like, yep, yeah, he's totally an asshole. But and I think even my wife sometimes is like, I mean, I know she's told me quit being an asshole. Like, so I mean, yeah, but because I make 10-minute videos where I smile a lot and can edit out all the asshole comments and stuff, people are like, oh, he's a really nice guy, and I think I am a nice guy, but I'm also I have my prickly side, and sometimes that's not shown to the internet, and people they just see an image of you and they think that's the reality, and sometimes I'm like, man, if you knew me in person, you wouldn't be saying that. Like,
And you know what? They wouldn't know you in person because that kind of behavior is not going to attract you, right?
yeah,
That's what I come back to. Is like people who do things like that, who say things like that, they're not the type of person you would ever be friends with anyway.
right.
And so
Like I
that's
just
why I just keep going back to letting it go.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm rough around the edges, but I try to be a good person. I try to be a nice person. And some of these other people are like, they're not trying. Like they're trying to do the opposite. They're going out of their way to be mean and rude and nasty.
Yeah,
And it's like,
absolutely.
yeah, I don't want
Absolutely.
anything to do with somebody like that. So if I wouldn't have anything, if you were, it lived in my town and were in my circle of friends and I would cut you off immediately, why am I caring what you say in a comment of a
Right.
post? But
Right.
there's just something in the brain that is like online, everybody's got to love you or you're a failure. And it's like, I don't know where that came from, but it can
See,
get
I'm
real
used to that. Like
frustrating.
I have the type of personality where like I don't think there's a middle ground when it comes to Jonathan. Like people either like me or they hate me. And then like there's no middle ground. There's no like, oh, he's okay. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we love him. I used to
Yeah.
do stand-up comedy. Like I used to do all sorts of things, right? And you either love me or like it's your life's mission to destroy me. Like there's no in between for me. So like I totally get that.
Well,
I
I'm not going to go
totally
on the record and say that I love you, but I do like you. You seem like a really nice guy. And the more we've talked, I mean, even the short conversation before we started recording, like just I feel like I can relate to you. You seem like a genuine and very
I
nice
appreciate that.
person. So I don't hate you. I don't want to destroy you or anything like that. I like you, and I hope we can work together. I mean, because it's like I'm beating a dead horse, but I say this in my videos all the time. Like I'm just a guy on the internet with a camera. I don't have any kind of I have no degrees in biology or arachnology or anything like that. Like I'm not a scientist and I'm not a breeder and I have no desire to ever be a breeder. Like when I first started keeping tarantulas and my collection grew to this massive amount, part of me was like, I've put so much money into this. I got to find some way to at least have it be
Well, yeah.
self-sustaining. And that was the first thing. It was like, well, I could breed and sell. And I'm like, no, that is so much work. I've talked to breeders. I've talked to dealers. I know I don't want to deal with the shipping. I don't want to deal with FedEx. I don't deal with packaging. And I don't want to deal with thousands of slings. Like that would take all the fun out of the hobby for me.
And the
So it
worst thing
was,
out of that entire string of stuff you just said was FedEx. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
that's why I was like, well, I'll try the content. Like first I was like, I'll just try doing photography, but quickly realized nobody out there is paying for tarantula photos. Like even a dealer like yourself, you could pay me $100 for a picture of this adult tarantula, or you could take out your cell phone and just take your own picture and put it on your website.
But I'm the worst picture taker in the world. So
You
that's
know,
my other problem is like, I'm like, I need pictures. Do I just technically I could take all of Eris's pictures? Do they
yeah.
have nice pictures? I don't know.
But it
I
maybe
don't.
one day as the hobby grows, that will be an actual business venture that would be lucrative. But like right now, the hobby's not big enough. And I mean,
No.
if it
Yeah.
was cars or electronics or stuff like that, then yeah, there would be a benefit to having a professional photographer take photos of your items and have those on the
Right.
internet. That would drive sales. But right now, it's like it doesn't matter if I take the photo professionally with a $5,000 camera. You use your cell phone. People the picture is more there just I don't know, like
Yeah.
just so that
People
there's a
know.
picture
Yeah.
there.
The
Yeah.
name is what they're looking at.
Yeah.
People who buy tarantulas, they're going specifically for the name.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's plenty of people that just post a list and they're selling enough to stay afloat. So it's like,
I do. Yeah.
pictures aren't that necessary, but at least not at this point. But I was like, I'll just make content. But I always try to like, because people will come to me asking these like highly scientific questions or wanting me to, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. But I just share my experiences keeping tarantulas. I don't claim to be an expert at all.
I
Uh,
don't, I use the word expert very infrequently, and I don't think that there's a lot of I don't think there are many experts among us. To me, expert is somebody who has gone through that scientific process, who it's more than anecdotal. But that's not to say that a lot of us who, there are people out there who've been doing it way longer than me. Anecdotal evidence is critical because over the course of 20, 30, 40 years, you're going to see things that people will not be able to capture in a specific scientific study.
mhm.
So I absolutely value and respect so many. Like I'll do a name drop. Like I adore Joey Muggleston. Like I think he's incredible. What's his what's his business name? Great Basin Serpentarium out of Utah.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with
I'm
Joey.
not.
Joey is tremendous. He's one of the very few people that I feel like I can have a very distinct, very specific conversation that's not purely blowing smoke. That's not, like it's very a critical conversation.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent and he breeds a good chunk of his stock. Joey's been around a long, long time. I'd consider him like if I were going to talk about like experts, like he would be somebody that I would consider close to it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of experts. I definitely don't claim expertise. I tell people all the time I'm not an expert.
But I think
I
sometimes
just
the
think,
most
yeah.
important answer you can have to a question is an honest one. And that's I don't know. Like I say that a
Yeah.
lot. I don't know. But I think that's and I'm just talking about my own Facebook group, but it's something I see a lot is somebody asks a question and I don't know the answer, so I don't leave a comment. But then I see people leave comments and I'm like, that I don't know the answer, but I know that's not the right answer, And it's
I
like,
see that every day.
why don't
and I
you
think
just
to myself, I
keep
should
scrolling?
say something, but
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's what I do. I just keep scrolling.
yeah. But it's like, why did you leave a comment that, it's like, why can't you people, I don't know. And I think it's just human nature. It's hard to say, I don't know. And sometimes opinions get mixed up with facts and stuff like that. But yeah, one of my goals is hopefully at some point the channel will be successful enough that I'll be able to afford to like leave the country and because I really want to go to Thailand and I want to go to India and I want to go to South America and Central America and film these tarantulas in the wild. Maybe like get together with some of these people that, arachnologists or, scientists, field researchers, follow them around and let them talk. And I just do the filming. You know what I mean? Like that's a goal of mine one day is to
That's awesome.
take the camera skills that I've learned and partner up with people that have the scientific background. And then maybe like throw in my own experiences and stuff here and there. But, it's like, I feel like I'm too old to like go back to college and get a completely different degree. But
Don't say that.
Well, I mean, I guess I could do it, but it's so much easier for me to have people like you on the podcast and develop friendships and relationships with you or like Dr. Linda Rayer or Tom Patterson or Jeremy Huff or these people that Frank Soma is another one, like these guys that have decades of experience and have been out in the field.
Frank is incredible.
Yeah. Like I was so nervous meeting him for the first time. I think it's just because he's from New York and he's a big guy with that thick accent. And he was just the nicest guy. We had dinner and I was just like, wow, I haven't talked to him in a while. I should probably reach out to him. So we just keep that relationship going. But he just knew so much and was so kind and friendly about, just talking about stuff and educating me. Like, I think the entire dinner, the people at the restaurant probably thought we were insane because it was Tom Patterson, Frank Soma, Jeremy Huff, Dr. Linda Rayer and her husband and a few others. And we just talked tarantulas the entire time.
That's a lot of knowledge in one table. Like that's the kind of stuff that I think is really healthy. But I think at the same time, it's like at the end of the day, people are going to want to share their experiences. And so you have people who have been in the hobby for 12 minutes and they're going to want to share their experience. And that's okay. I get educated all the time at expos where people educate me on,
and the person with 12 minutes experience can help the person with 5 minutes experience. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like I'm totally for that. The problem that I have personally is that because I'm on YouTube and I have 120,000 subscribers, if I'm standing next to Frank Soma, some random new person is going to be like, Richard's the expert. And it's like, no. Oh, that guy's the expert. I'm just the dude with the camera. So trying to educate people that, just because somebody's on social media talking to a camera or, making really well-worded posts, that doesn't mean that they're the most reliable source. Like you always got to, I just want to throw that out there. You got to go to multiple sources and get a cumulative kind of source of knowledge. But yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because when you offer information, it's hard, especially through text. It's hard not to come across as righteous and I know more than you, so therefore I'm going to comment. Like I've seen some I would consider well-known people because if I know them, they got to be well-known because I don't know anybody.
And you didn't know me. That was kind of refreshing. Exactly. Like I had no idea who you are. It's like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, when you reached out to me, I'm like, who is this person? But I do have the ability to go on Facebook, and then I saw that. I put the dots together. I'm not completely incompetent. But yeah, like even people out there, that it's kind of like what I always go back to is like bites, right?
Yeah.
I just feel, I could be completely wrong. I just feel like if somebody gets bit by a spider, you got a tale to tell, and you're gonna just make it worth telling. That's
Yeah.
all. I'm gonna just leave it at that. And so I think there's a lot of that goes on, like a lot of that.
Yeah. Hey,
You know,
drama sells, especially online.
yes,
And I
yes.
like I wouldn't not offended at all that you have no idea who I am. That actually like I've been feeling really kind of beat down lately, like just having a hard time making enough money to keep my bills paid and stuff like that. And it feels like I've hit this glass ceiling. Like, you know, everybody that keeps tarantulas in the United States knows who I am, and they're watching or they're not watching. This is the amount of money that I'm going to be able to make. Can I survive off this? Is this worth continuing to do, or should I go back to working a normal job and this just be a hobby? But the fact that somebody that like you that has been so involved in the hobby for such a long time didn't know about me, it's like, okay, well, I still got some more work to do. Like, there's still people to reach out there.
I'm not proud of that though. Like the other one that I just found out about the other day is the one that you just mentioned. Cause people have mentioned this person to me, like, but I never saw a video. I didn't tarantula cat. Like, I don't know. I've never heard of this person.
Yeah.
Like,
she's a
more
sweetheart. Yeah. I mean, she's just,
oh, I'm sure. But like,
it's like my little sister now. We hated each other at first, but yeah.
Really?
Well, not really hate. We just were indifferent, I guess. Maybe I didn't like her, but she's a sweetheart. And she just, just like me, just a tarantula keeper. She's out in St. Louis. She just films her life keeping tarantulas.
And that's awesome.
I mean?
Like, I think that's really cool because people connect to that. And that's where I have a lot to learn because like, I have people that'll come to me and they'll ask me all sorts of questions, and people defer to me all the time, but I'm having these conversations, but connecting with people on, like these unboxing videos, I'll be honest with you. I will be completely honest. I'm like, unboxing videos, that's dumb. Like that's the first thing I said a couple years ago when I heard from somebody about an unboxing video. And then I had people, this is how stupid I am. I had people tell me, oh, we're going to do an unboxing video for you. And I'm like, no, that's okay. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, what is the point of that? Well, gosh, I get it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
they're my least favorite videos to make, but they always perform well. Like, it doesn't even matter. I could be unboxing a book, and it's just something about that, the trigger in the brain, the same joy you get when you open up a box from Amazon at home, you watch a YouTube video doing it. It's like,
but
it
I don't
triggers
get that
same
joy.
chemical.
I'm like, fast forward. Like, what am I watching here? Like,
yeah. I don't really enjoy watching them either. Sometimes if it's like a new camera or something new that's coming out, I'll be like, oh, I want to watch this just to see what it is I could potentially be buying. But, it's a good way for people to review breeder or dealers that they're, not familiar with and stuff like that. I see a lot of channels that's pretty much all they do are, unboxing and feeding and stuff like that. It's like, I don't enjoy filming those types of videos as much, but it's also like the YouTube's saturated with that kind of content. So I try to do something a little bit different, focusing more on my experiences caring for a tarantula, or like trying to make little documentaries or top 10 lists or something like that. It's a little more different, but fun. But it's, I always, and I'm not speaking for all content creators out there, but I just always try to caution people, when you're looking at somebody doing a podcast like me or making videos or something like that, just because we're on your screen doesn't mean we're an authority. And I always see our job more as like the advertising department of a large car manufacturer. Like I'm trying to get you to buy the cars or get you to know about the brand. I can't tell you how to fix the engine or change the brakes or something like that. For that, you got to go to the mechanics. Or
I wish
I'm
more
not the guy
people were
selling
cognizant
them.
of that. Yeah, because I think that the reality is that people who do have a face in social media, they have a lot of influence, and there have been people that are not in the hobby now who had influence then, and so I think that's great that you recognize that, but I don't think that by and far that's something.
That's my goal, is to get that word out. Say it enough. People listening are probably like, we're sick of hearing this, Richard, but they're probably sick of hearing us, both of us, because we have crossed the 2-hour mark. So we got to wrap this up. Yikes. And I just thank you so much for coming on and talking about this and setting the record straight and getting the information out there. I think that's going to do wonders for people, put a lot of people's mind at ease. And
I hope so.
Because the last thing I want is for people to think everybody in the trench, like it's all a scam, because it's not. Sometimes just bad things happen. People get in over their head. Not everything is a scam trying to rip you off. Like, there
right.
There
and that's
are
why
some,
I did it.
they're
Right.
usually
And that's why I
selling
did it.
stickers and T-shirts and stuff like out of China, and they just want to get your money and never ship you anything. Man, I got ripped off
Right,
so
exactly.
bad last Halloween. I ordered this like 12-foot pumpkin skeleton like I got an Instagram ad and I'm like, oh, that's a really good deal. It's 50% off. And it was like $200 I spent on these Halloween decorations.
And you got stickers?
I got nothing. They just never.
Oh.
I got a tracking label out of China that said it was on a cargo ship, and this was like when COVID happened. So I was like, it's probably just sitting out there. And they were like, yeah, it's sitting on a cargo ship waiting to come into San Francisco. As soon as it does, you'll get an updated tracking number and it'll be to you. And they essentially waited until the point I couldn't go through PayPal and get a refund, and then the website just disappeared. I was like, you got me. You guys got me.
Yeah,
not
no,
gonna
and
happen
I get
again.
it, and that's why I did this, because I don't have the time, the manpower, the energy to respond to things directly. And when you reached out to me, I didn't really know who you were, and then I talked to a couple people, and they're like, "Do that because people watch his channel." And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, if nothing else, if it will put people's minds at ease, for not that there's many left. There's not many people left out there that have anything owed to them by Eresus, but the people that do, nobody, I'm going to be diligent to ensure that nobody is leaving empty-handed. So I'm thankful that you invited me. I I I thoroughly enjoyed having a conversation with you,
Yeah.
and maybe one day in the future we'll do
Could do
something
it
again. Who
again.
knows?
Yeah. And just so everybody, just to recap real quick, Eresus is done. The website's getting shut down. That's just kind of, they're just leaving the stage. But you still have a business that's Seven Wonders Tarantulas. Seven Wonders Exotic Pets is the store.
Yes.
I've got your social media, your Instagram and your Facebook scrolling across the bottom, and I will also link it down below in the show notes or the description, depending on where you're listening or watching. But just before we go, if you just want to kind of tell everybody how to get in touch with you, where you're located, stuff like that, just in case people, they want to get in contact with you and buy some
Sure.
spiders or something.
So right now, I have not done any business whatsoever with myself because I've been so engrossed with Eresus. So here's my open apology to everybody that's reached out on the Facebook business page. It's just not within my capabilities right now. But very soon, starting next week, we're going to go back to sales. So we're working on a website. So the first thing that we're going to do is we'll just have our list available on our Facebook page. You can reach out to us. Right now, we're emailing our list, or we're going to email our list. It's something that we'll be working on for next week. Our store is physically located in Fresno, California. We're open every day of the week. It's a lot of fun when you come in. It's kind of like a candy shop. You got a whole bunch of different spiders you could pick from, and we'll bring them out to you. And yeah, we're going to be resuming business like we used to starting next week, but within the next few weeks, once our website gets done, because we clearly need a website, we'll have the website, and people can reach out to us there. For now, though, reach out to us on Facebook and email, which is located. You'll get the email address on the Facebook page.
Right on. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm glad we could air out all of this dirty laundry and hopefully, just clear up some of the confusion and misinformation out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, everybody listening, thank you so much for sticking around, listening to this entire podcast. You guys are awesome. If you got any questions or anything like that, just check out his social media. And I got listed, like I said, at the bottom of the screen or, in the show notes. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you're following Apple Podcasts. Leave that 5-star review. If you're watching the video version of this on YouTube, which is always available on my second channel, The Exotic Pet Collective, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next podcast. As always, appreciate you guys listening. We will see you next time. Goodbye.